Device's numbers were fucking crazy. Like that's if he had played like deeper into the tournaments, and if he had shown that sort of a level on a consistent level, like deeper into tournaments, if he had played Katowice and the major, where you do have to like put up pretty decent numbers to like make a deep case, like he would have been like top 3 with the sort of numbers he put up. Like that is a crazy stat sheet.
Best esports odds, VIP program, and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO matching tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Are you tired of your boring old skins and looking for beautiful new ones? Tradeit.gg is your place to go for easy and secure trades within seconds. Simply pick and choose whatever item you want to trade from Tradeit's huge inventory. Verify the trade on Steam and you're ready. With the lowest fees in the market and a beautiful, easy-to-use UI, Tradeit also offers you the option to instantly sell your items for cash. We accept a wide variety of payment methods. Tradeit.gg is the go-to place whenever you want to try out fancy new skins. Start trading today at Tradeit.gg.
Happy New Year. We're back with HLTV Confirmed for another year, 2024, and we like to kick things here off in style. Quick shout out to our sponsors, 22Bet. Remember to gamble responsibly, and Tradeit.gg. If you're in the marketplace for some skins, head over there and they should be able to hook you up with all the goodies that you need. All right. Well, we are back. It is a new year. I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday period. It's cold up in the Northern Hemisphere. We're just talking to Prof, who said that he's been snowed in now for, I think it's about 6 weeks. He's living off of the flower petals behind him. I can see you're down to about 3 flowers remaining. How are they tasting, Prof? You've been able to season them? Any salt, any pepper?
Honestly, just some like air. You throw them in the air fryer, some kosher salt on top, some herbs like some basil or something. Perfect. Beautiful.
Getting you through. And you're just obviously melting the snow for hydration purposes as well, obviously.
Yes, and there's also like reusing some liquids, and the Bear Grylls method. So I'm living. It's fine. It's really amazing.
Still making it through stuff. The internet. You've made it through into a new year. Have you started igloo construction?
No, I've just been playing Counter-Strike. You know how it is in here. Have to keep up with the kids and all of that. Like otherwise, how do we get all of these talents here in Northern Europe right now?
That's true.
That is how they develop like 6 weeks not being able to go out to just get good. You've been sent to Sweden, obviously, to repair relations with NIP on behalf of HLTV.org. How has that been going? Look, better than expected. There have been some contacts. There have been some relations being mended to some degree. Some handshakes exchanged. So I think we're going in a great direction with the NIP thing. And yeah, I think they're improving. So nothing bad to be said right now. Okay, we hope to get Gunderson on the show later in the year. Now, Striker, it's a new backdrop going on right now. There's still the cats. I can still see one little cat just making its way around town. It's a new environment. How's it feel? Is it more space? What's going on?
It's there's technically less space because there's one more person here. So that's
oh dear.
So technically no, but yeah, I mean, we literally just completed the move like in the last 4 days. We moved everything on Wednesday, and since then, like the last 5 hours is literally the time that this apartment has been usable to like kind of a complete degree, except like a couple of things are broken. But
are you on the ground floor? You must be. There's a fence.
No. This is no, that's a balcony.
Oh, okay.
That's ninth floor.
9th floor. All right. Okay, how many floors in the building?
10, I think.
Wait, he's almost got the penthouse.
Almost the penthouse.
Yeah, I feel like that's prime location though. You're not as susceptible to like leakage and stuff like that. You're kind of safe from that. And the heat insulation, you don't need to heat as much because you have the person above. I think that's prime. Perfect. That's prime right there.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now we have misplaced the stolen printer. Was that essentially or intentionally, as opposed to essentially lost in the move, so you can't be tracked?
Actually, it's hidden deep in the basement.
Okay, all right, all right, fair enough. We are hiding the goodies. Now, Lucas is here pressing the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. Actually, not an observer. I don't know what he's pressing. Lucas, how many buttons you got?
5.
5 buttons. Okay, so
Not a
you
lot of
know,
buttons.
WSD and mouse 1. That's how he rolls. No smokes, flashes, no reloading. He doesn't need anything.
Doesn't need anything.
He's just fragging.
All right. Well, we'll see how we go today because we have some assets we're bringing up a little bit later in the show. But just a quick rundown maybe for some of our audio-only listeners or for people who are joining us nice and early. We're going to go through the recent news. We'll be running that bumper in a second, talk about all the happenings over the last week and a bit. We're going to take a look at the HLTV top 20 thus far. Striker's going to have a few things to answer for, I do believe. And then we're going to have a bit of a chat about 2024 and what we can expect in the coming months, coming year. A few of the hot topics. We like to talk about the broader things on this show, and then people forget about them and they never get brought up. And then when they come around, when we've mentioned they're going to come around, everybody seems to be up in arms. So that seems to be the cycle of life. And if we have any time left, we might just take some questions from all you lovely people at home. But we're a little bit earlier today. We're on a Sunday. We've got the award show coming up on, Saturday. So just over a week from now. All the proceedings, all hard work of Prof will be kicking off. But speaking of kickoff, Lucas, roll the bumper. Let's get into the recent news. All right. We're back in business. I should probably open the little page so that I can go through all of the correct news topics that I have here, which is provided to me from Lucas, which I haven't opened just yet. It's called HLTV_graphics. I click that button, then I click reload frame. I click it again, and then it shows me all the topics. Okay, here we go. We're in a good spot. The Bleed roster has been unveiled. Kassad has been very vocal on the Twitter sphere. Striker, I see you're enjoying the vocal nature of Mr. Kassad.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I've also had some people say that maybe everything is not exactly as he makes it sound like, but I don't know what to make of that. I don't really have anything corroborated, so I don't want to call anybody out for lying. But there's definitely, I've definitely liked the fact that he spoke about, or they specifically announced the fact that that Lonks was loaned from Falcons. I am curious about what kind of ramifications that's gonna have. Just because of Valve's ruling about no conflicts of interest, and you have to specify everything ahead of time and potentially get rid of it. And that includes loans in some way. Like that is specifically listed in that requirement as loans. And I'm curious about whether this is whether that would be a hard restriction or not. I would imagine not, but who knows? I'm curious about that because I wanted to ask Valve about it, and I haven't been able to yet.
Haven't been able to get in contact with them, or you've been too busy with the move?
I've been too busy with the move. I just spoke to somebody else. Somebody's about it. Yeah, well, that's another one. I spoke to somebody else about it, and I think they did try to get in contact with Valve because it specifically had to do with their team. So that we were kind of talking about the possibility that they could be. They could be in trouble because they have a loaned player from another team that will also participate in the qualifiers or the RMR itself, and that might be a problem. We know that in the past maybe Valve didn't know about some of these situations. There was the famous Shuhei with Gamer Legion and MOUZ. That was pretty much kind of semi-confirmed that he was loaned the entire time from MOUZ rather than sold and then bought back. So that's I don't know. It seems like there's a little bit of a gray area there.
That's going to be one to keep our eyes on. But we do have the roster in front of us now, Prof. We've got all the names laid out. Lonks obviously being one of them. Hampus announces the in-game leader. Circa's the AWPer. Faven in the mix. Now with this team, you see it come onto your screen. I'm Cypher, of course. You see this come onto your screen. What are you thinking? What's the initial reaction?
I mean, it is kind of what I expected. I feel like most people would expect something along these lines, which is it's kind of a Moneyball lineup in terms of every player has some reason, some problem or something that happened that are maybe this guy is not cut out, but also there's an obvious upside. Everyone had at least a very good period at some point. So I think it's a pretty good lineup altogether. I don't know, obviously, how much they needed to cash out to get it. but it is for like a mid-European lineup that came out of nowhere, and like their first lineup, which is always hard to put together. As we saw with like TSM, for example, what they got was pretty bad, and that's why Cypher left essentially, I would presume at least. So I think it's a pretty good lineup with Cypher Lonks, quite a bit of potential there. Campus as the IGL still, I feel like, has more to give than the Cirque thing. I called it last time on the show. I was saying that Kassad can't shut up about this guy, so there must be something cooking, right? And Faven as well, like he had a really weird time in Big and like had these like off periods and sickness and all of this stuff. So obviously something went wrong there, but I think he's like a great, in this kind of a lineup, like a great fifth rifler, fifth player on the team. So I think it has a lot of potential. At the same time, there is probably going to be some growing pains, and talking about like teams that could not make it to the RMR, like it could easily be this team, right? Just because of how little time they have together. But I also think there is going to be something will come from this core of players. Like it will be like a top 20 team.
Okay. Well, that seems like a pretty bold prediction to make right there. Like, especially considering when people look at a lot of these names, hey, you're looking at more of the positive, I suppose. The weird time for Faven on Big, like he was meant to be the guy from Sprout. I was like, okay, this is the next German piece, right? This is the next guy that's a frat, and then it never really manifested. Cypher, we saw, the highs of him at the major, but then since not to be the case at all, TSM hasn't done anything of note. Lonks, well, this is somebody who's been touted. I think what Device had him as his bold prediction for the year, and we know he's a talented player. But I think the key for me overall, because I could keep going through them and I could, pick things that obviously is the negatives for each of them. But I think the positive overall is the age of the roster. The average age being 22.6. Hampus brings that up. He's 25. The rest of them are very young. For example, Lonks is only 18. And I think this is an opportunity, I think, for Cirque that's one that maybe he didn't think he would get again.
Yeah, kind of a make or break for his career. I feel like this is like the chance to prove that you still got it. Obviously, he could continue playing for 5 more years, but it's going to be hard to get another good opportunity like this, right?
Yeah, and this is where we will talk more about this later when we look at the roadmap, and I'm sure we could talk about it at any point. But obviously, Blast, having announced their affiliate spots, right, the extra 4 teams, Bleed wasn't one of them. And we know they're a team that likes to spend, and we know that money was a factor as to how those spots were determined. Gamer Legion getting in there. Striker, you made a tweet. Something to do with MOUZ not getting a spot.
Yeah,
are we going to talk about the Blast thing now, or I guess we are.
Well, it just because it affects Bleed in the sense that the next 6 months, no more, right, until the next major cycle, everything for them rests on this major cycle, right? If they
more or less, yeah.
And it starts for them tomorrow, right? Like it starts for them tomorrow. This time tomorrow is when it all kicks off. So if they are unable to make it from the open to the closed, from the closed to the RMR, from the RMR to the major itself, right? How are you going to get into any events? They're going to have to play online. And remember how that went with Extremum, with Kassad, with those boys online? They were just in this like washing machine of tier 2 online CS and never fucking went anywhere. So I'm sure Kassad wants to avoid that as much as possible. So they're not going to have many options available here, right? Like this is the thing, and it's hard because the field in Europe is going to be nuts, right? For the major, and it's not going to be easy whatsoever. They're in the hardest region. It's a brand new roster put together where there's really no links between any of these players. So I think Kassad's really got his work cut out for him here, and I'm just curious more than anything what type of, I probably should have reached out to Kassad and asked him here, but what type of leeway are Bleed giving, right? A Bleed go, okay, you can have all of 2024. By the end of 2024, we want to see something, right? Like is that it? Do they get the major cycle? Do they get 6 months? What is it?
You have to imagine that Bleed, at least, from my standpoint, I think you have to be a little bit reasonable with the timing that they got into the space, because they got in late, right? Like they got in at a point where everybody already made their changes. They, like all the players that you would possibly want to get, were probably already taken, or at least, on the way somewhere, so they were pretty deep into conversations. And whenever you're building an entirely new team, like you're going to have a hard time getting bigger names signing up until you have more bigger names. Like we saw how with Falcons, it took a while until it all kind of fell into place, even when they had a lot of bigger names, like in talks, and so I think from that perspective, I would assume that an organization is fairly reasonable in knowing that, okay, this is maybe not the lineup that we 100% will stick with moving forward, but it is a start. It is like our first step, and we'll see where that goes in the near future. I would say, like, give this team the next half a year and see where it goes, and then maybe change 1 or 2 players if you feel like it's not where you want it to be. And like whenever, especially after the major, you know, when more people become available and a lot of people we're gonna start looking at changes. So I feel like that's kind of like, I would imagine that they don't have like massive expectations for this roster specifically.
Now there was a comment in chat from Estebanaricon, said, why are we giving Bleed so much attention? And I think I can understand that from one point. Looking at the roster, it's pretty mid. But from another perspective, when we've been talking about esports winter and a lot of different games having a hard time, and we're talking about people not wanting to invest so much in the space, and then an organization that we know has a lot of money coming into the space and picking up a team, I think that's quite interesting. So talking about them just from that perspective, I think is something here, Prof, because...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like what happened in the last 2-3 weeks, not much movement, right? They are the most interesting team from that perspective. Also, there's also comments about like why Nilo wasn't picked up. I know he got chosen for like a few bold predictions, the Swedish guy.
Yep.
But someone also wrote this in chat, and I can confirm from what I know, like he is still in school, and the team that he's playing for, Meta's esports, they don't really even play full time, right? They kind of balance their practice playing schedule to his school time and all of this. So they only get to play like 3 practices max per day or stuff like that. So it doesn't really make sense for him to go to a bigger team at this point, at least. So I guess he's going to be done by the summertime, and then after that, I would expect him to be on the radar for like some bigger teams.
Okay, there's a lot of names that we can be keeping our eyes on here. Let's jump slightly forward if we're all happy to move away from Bleed for a moment. We'll get back to them in a moment's time. But OG, another team who probably find themselves in a very similar grouping, which we're going to be discussing with the Vox Pop just in a second, have signed HeavyGod, so another Israeli player, another Endpoint alumni. Has joined the OG roster, and the team over there is interesting if you're looking at more young names, right? This team has an average age of 21.7. They have Nexius, who we saw stand in for MOUZ when old boy Jimmy couldn't get his visa sorted down under. HeavyGod coming in, as I just mentioned. Regali, who's been touted as a bit of a prospect himself, and Fiku, who's still going, who, I don't know, like Fiku's just like, he's like butter, you know? You like a sandwich, you're probably going to put some butter on the sandwich, like, but it's not the main ingredient of the sandwich. I'm happy with butter. I use butter every day in everything I cook. You know, I made an omelet before. I had to grease the pan with some butter, but the eggs and the peppers and the tomato and a bit of the ham, that was the main ingredients. So I think Keto's going to be in-game leading. Is that correct?
I think that's what I heard in behind the scenes. Like when I heard like rumors about like what OG are putting together, there was a lot of stuff flying around about Keto taking over in-game leadership, and I don't know who else would in this case. So I feel like that would make sense.
Makes sense. He's the most experienced. He's the oldest within that team over there. But do we get any more excited, Prof, about this OG roster with HeavyGod in there? Because for me personally, I'm excited about to see what the individuals have. The team, maybe not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched HeavyGod play, but he has been on the radar of some teams. I know he's putting up good stats and stuff like that. So I guess that's a good signing. But overall, they're still like, just looking at their players, this like 0.96 rating average core of the team of like Fiku, Regali, and Nexius. It doesn't really get me excited, right? This is a team that I could easily see not doing anything for the next 6 months, just like they didn't do anything for the past 6 months. So
their inception in Counter-Strike, which was what, 20?
I mean, they had some ups and downs. They had some ups and they had some better. They definitely had some better players than they have now. You can't really get around that. But yeah, not excited. Not excited about OG at the moment at all.
Striker, can you save us? Are you mildly excited?
I mean, not particularly. I think even from the from all the blast partners, they were also on the lower end for a long time. So I think, I don't know, nothing really strikes me as that this lineup will surpass the previous one.
Okay, well, let's see what the people think, because we did the Vox Pop this week, and we've gone with a bit of Lord of the Rings homage. We've gone with the battle for Middle Earth. We're very, very Zoomerish, because you guys are using mid and peak and, all these cool terms out there, man. So we're staying hip with the kids. That's what we're doing. Now, this question was asked to you on the Twitter sphere, on the Instagram, and we wanted to get your opinion on 4 teams who we thought might reign supreme. So we had Bleed, Fnatic, NIP, and OG in the mix. And I don't know if Bleed have just topped the polls here because they were first, Prof. That seems like a bit of a landslide, really, for a whole new roster being put together.
I think this is a case of everything you know is about these teams like Fnatic, NIP, OG, pretty underwhelming. So then might as well go for the new one that you don't know anything about. So it's like, can it be worse? That kind of a vibe. The promise of greatness more than the knowing of like, they didn't really do anything. I feel like if Fnatic, for example, didn't play with the lineup that they had, maybe people would be more excited about it than after seeing it and being like, well, this did not really inspire any faith in the lineup, right?
Well, this is Crim's new roster in case those people at home who are just tuning in have missed it. Crims has found himself alongside of Afro, who was there from the previous team, which is Afro had some moments. Body, QB, and Maddie S. So that was the roster over there at Fnatic. NIP, maybe people haven't been keeping up to date with that. They have themselves Config, Rez, Headtrick, Esatag, and Alex. That's their roster. They actually have a pretty old average age, 25.7. And that is brought down heavily by Headtrick, who's only 19. And then we just went over the OG and the Bleed rosters before. Striker, do you agree with this? How would you change this list? Who would you have the most faith in out of these four teams?
I think at the moment, I mean, I was pretty happy with the Fnatic changes. I think everybody was like, who? But I mean, for me, like at least they went the right direction, you know. Before they just had a really old core that didn't really have a future, you know, so it didn't really make a lot of sense to me the way that they built the previous roster. But at least they went in a way where they lowered the average player age quite a lot. They got a couple of guys who actually have been putting up really good numbers in like the tier 2 scene, and like Mattis and QV, and so I didn't hate it. So I feel like I would give them a better chance than Bleed at the moment, just because making an entirely new lineup work can be hard than, you know, building on a core that you already have. So I mean, that's just my stance, but I don't think that there's a big difference between, for me, like my expectations between Fnatic and Bleed. I think they're both kind of on par. Like I'm low-key a little bit excited about Bleed, just because it's like Prof, I think, put it pretty well, that like he said something like all of these players have something bad about them, but I think there's also like something good about each of them. Some promise in each of them, but obviously it comes with an asterisk with pretty much everybody. And I am still kind of happy about Cirque getting a chance, even though like his EG stint didn't really inspire a lot of confidence that he still has it, you know, to compete at the top. But I'm kind of like somewhere in the middle of Bleed and Fnatic.
Okay.
Who'd you vote for, Chad?
Look, this is a very difficult one.
Did you vote?
I didn't vote, but if I had to vote, and this is the thing, it's the timeline. So I guess the timeline we'd be looking at would be the major, right? I guess that would probably be the best timeline. I would probably just cop out and go with NIP, because they're the team that is already the furthest ahead out of the bunch. They're already in the RMR, right? So because they've kept the core of Config, Res, and Headtrick. So
let's not. Yeah, that's really copping out. That's super cop out right there. Oh my God, they already have a slot. But yeah, I
wise,
I voted for Fnatic. Like, even though I was also like between these three, I feel like it's very close.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? I with these teams, I think they're all, well, actually, I don't know. I was about to say, I think they all probably just wait and see what happens after the major and then see what other names they're able to pick up. But how many of these brands now even have any, well, obviously Bleed's new. The other three, how many even have anything behind them that want to draw players to those rosters? There's nothing. Like, you know, NIP, Fnatic, or OG, as a player, unless I'm a Swede and I'm hearing Fnatic or NIP, I'm probably not, or unless I'm a Dota player turned Counter-Strike player, I'm probably not getting very excited about OG either. So
yeah, it is about the slots. Like, I feel like the slots and just the salary. That is, for example, someone like HeavyGod just going from endpoint to OG certainly will have a better salary and will at least have blast spots. And that kind of helps you move forward, but not that much, right? Especially with next year, the whole partnership thing going away. It's not, they're losing everything they had, right? There is nothing. They didn't build on the legacy over the last 2-3 years of the partnership era, so then they're just being left behind by some of the other names.
And that's where real problems are going to come in for these orgs come 2025. right? So we'll have to monitor that, but we're still a whole year away from that. Okay.
We have some breaking news if you want.
Yeah, Prof just linked that in the TeamSpeak chat. So this has just come through the pipeline here. PARIVISION has just announced an updated roster. So the team is Jerry, who's going to be the in-game leader, SteamGuard, Patsi, Artfrost of more recently Spirit fame, getting replaced by Shiro, and Kick It. So it's an interesting little hodgepodge team that's
so much better than the previous lineup. So much better than the previous lineup.
Yeah, well, I think having Jerry as an in-game leader, like that's a great, starting point, of course. Patsi coming in, aggressive rifle, that's going to be exciting. Artfrost, when I was watching him play on Spirit, he was very flary, right? He was very flicky.
Pretty good opper, yeah.
Kick It as the experienced member, and SteamGuard, he's had his moments. I've been watching over the years. I don't know, still don't know how to say his name, but we'll go with SteamGuard. So, what was the previous roster of PARIVISION?
Previously, Raging and Exit Power.
Yeah.
Well, Exit Power's gone again.
Yeah.
It didn't last very long. It lasted a whole lot of 3 months.
Back.
Yeah, that's the PARIVISION lineup did absolutely nothing, the original one. So this is good time to change before the major qualifiers. I do feel like this lineup has a good chance to do something, at the RMR quals and like get to the RMR. I feel like they could. Obviously limited time, but from what I know, both them and Bleed are boot camping in Belgrade now. So hopefully maybe that helps them get on track. I know you put out the tweet with like when did people start, and people started super early with the practice. So yeah.
Yeah, some people even started last year with stuff, and I haven't had Casper reach out from Australis talking about giving a bit more insight onto what they've been doing and stuff. So it's good to hear, from these teams. Like we'll talk about the dates soon. Don't you worry about that. But I know that people are going to have a whole lot to say with that. But yeah, the year has started very quickly, and that's going to be something that we'll be talking about a little bit later on the show.
I mean, it's pretty rough. Just to mention, like for a team like PARIVISION, they are literally boot camping playing now. Like today is like Christmas for Orthodox Christians, right? So their break and any family time does not exist at all, right? And it's the same for, I would say, most Eastern European players. So it's pretty shit. It's just pretty shit, but that's the kind of sacrifices people have to make. And it's one of those things. I know you love to shit on Americans for their, let's say,
entitled nature,
entitlement, right? But people don't really talk about this, and it kind of happens every year. But this is peak. This is peak.
Yeah, because we weren't meant to go back from the tournament break until the 15th, but obviously this is the case with the major being in March, which is coming very, very soon. The positive I have is at least once we get through this first major cycle, the second one makes a whole lot more sense. It's the suffering for now for hopefully a better future. So, okay, let's jump into the next little piece of news. Now, this one here, I wanted to pick your brain about, Striker. Complexity, they've signed the 4 players on with a contract extension, right? Now, I wanted to ask, because we heard a couple of weeks ago that Jason Lake was out there trying to get some funding to get the team, or to buy the team, right, off of a Game Square. But they're still under that banner at the moment, and they're extending their contract. So how, why, what? Like, explain this to a layman like me.
I mean, I don't know if there's much to explain at the moment. I think that is still going on, as far as I can tell, that they are trying to get Complexity sold off to like a new set of investors and just keep that brand going, while FaZe just become the Game Square esports team, basically. That is still in the process of happening. I think FaZe I don't know how close FaZe are at the moment. From what I hear, it still it kind of keeps getting pushed. Like it was supposed to be finished by the end of 2023. That's obviously not happened. And I think they kind of pushed it to the first quarter of 2024. And I'm not sure if that's like timeline's actually still going to be accurate. It could still take some time, I guess. But I mean, I was caught off guard by this as well. And I know that this was like the extensions actually were happening like quite a bit of time before they were announced. I heard about that before already. And that's also something that made me think how is this going to work? I think at the time, maybe even they didn't know. So it's just curious about how this is going to evolve. But as far as I can tell, like the plan is still the same. Like FaZe is going to stay under Game Square. Complexity is going to move to some new investors.
Does it help with selling? Like, this is the thing, I don't understand enough about the fucking business. Like, because they need to be like
It should help them.
Jason's still the boss, right, of complexity.
What's
some
right?
variety. Isn't Jason like still some form? So
yeah, of course.
He's knowingly signing these guys on longer to a contract of a company that he wants to buy the team off of.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, right? Just like it is difficult because there was a lot of players, like it was 4 of the players, right? I think it was 4 of the players
that have been signed this year, so his contract is
And so, I mean, for you not to sign this, that would be like an intent of like the whole team moving somewhere else, and that would also be like a really big problem for the entire team. But at the same time, I mean, it is a risky thing to sign, especially like if you're not entirely sure where the organization's future lies. So I'm curious. Yeah, I don't know. I
mean, the part of it is also you could, let's say they don't sign, then what can happen with the merger extending, taking more and more time.
Yeah,
that players just walk just like Twisted, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you want to have everyone like under the same umbrella so you can move them all together, right? Because otherwise someone can just come in and be like, oh, Halzark, do you want to join Apex or whatever, team? And he's like, okay, I don't have a contract, or I have like a 2-month temporary contract, right? So,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't mean it as risky from complexity side. I mean, it makes perfect sense from complexity side because this is actually a team that's been competitive, and so it has quite a lot of value at the moment, because they have spots, even if they do lose like some of the partner slots. Which I'm assuming is going to happen, considering like FaZe and Complexity are both. Well, it's not going to happen actually because they can both keep.
You have to buy that as well, though,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. That's like part of the value of Complexity, I suppose, is having those partnership slots, right? For them, it's fine, right? I mean, more for the players that like don't know where this organization is going to be in a few months' time, So have like re-signing to a multi-year contract, which I think that's what happened. That's an interesting move for the players, but I don't know if they had much of a choice, because if they decide to walk, I don't know if they'd be able to stick together or even find new homes.
Where would you even go as well?
That's also, and also like this close to the major, all that stuff. Like it was very weird timing with this sale happening, I think, for everybody. So like it is a very weird situation that I think is still evolving, and it's not 100% solved, and it's not 100% certain that Complexity actually will be able to get sold off as it is at the moment. But the fact that they have retained all these players is a good thing for them and for somebody to actually be able to buy the team.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of explain some of the basics of our understanding of the situation is that until the merge is official, these two teams can continue playing in the same circuit and the major and everything, because as of now, they're not related. Like, because nothing has been signed, they're in this like pre-merger state, essentially. So until that is like finalized, these two teams have no actual relation to each other. So from ESL and Valve perspective, it seems like that is completely fine. And that might not happen until after, let's say, the major, maybe not even then, maybe it takes even more time, So they just want, like, for the short term, it makes sense for both of them to be kind of set in where they are. And at the end, it might not happen at all, right? There's always a chance of everything falling apart. It happened recently. Wasn't it like the Microsoft, Nvidia or something takeover that was supposed to happen and didn't, or some shit like that? Or there was something.
Big business.
Big business being big.
Yeah, okay. All right, we're jumping into our next piece of news. This is a three-pronged attack here. There's always something to do with the Danes in the news every day of the week. Copenhagen Wolves have returned, which I think was pretty interesting. What do we know about this? We know Trace is the coach. We know they have a roster, but
they have a 23-year-old investor that's owning the brand, which always fills me with a lot of confidence.
I sense some sarcasm there, Prof.
Isn't he American too?
Yes.
So this has just happened out of nowhere. Some 23-year-old investor.
What is your first thought when you read 23-year-old American investor buys Copenhagen Wolves because it was his favorite team when he started following CS?
Wait, how old he would have been? 13 years of age. It was 10
something
years
like
ago.
that. Something like that. Yeah, depends on what roster, but yeah, 2012 to 14, somewhere. That was the Copenhagen Wolves. 2015, probably last roster they had.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'll say that much. Look, money's got to come from somewhere. Where is he here? CEO Jared Habib. His name is Outback. That's his alias. And I would have to Google him to find out a little bit more. But I just saw that Trace was the coach. Lucas just said that they're going to play in the, what's it called, Lucas? What's the league called?
Who's the sponsor now?
Yeah, it's Power League Gun, not El Gun. So it's always good with the Danish names. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see how that unfolds. But yeah, I just want to bring that one up. They have where's the roster? Here it is. Vigo, Basso. They have the Polish kid who was on MOUZ NXT. I've always forgot to say his name. Was it Shane? What
Shane,
we calling
yeah.
it? Shane. Yeah, that's easy. Mups G. And
Mups G, let's go.
And a Swede, Prof. Svejhed.
Oh,
Leo is his first name, and that's his last name.
Fame.
Yeah, and Trace is the coach. So, yeah, that's an interesting little roster right there. What else did I have here as this Danish news? Oh, Regin added as the coach of TSM. And also some other TSM news. Joel. What's the go with Joel? I never really know what I read on the forums. Joel's been, there was some E6 stuff. What's the go with Joel? Someone tell me.
It is incredible, isn't it? Especially the way that like he came out with the tweets, man.
Bro,
did you see that?
Pull out the tweets. Pull out.
What did he do?
Pull out his signing. Joel Embiid. That's him. No, that's an NFL player.
I don't know enough about the guy to. I just know that I always see. And then the problem is because there was that Finnish guy that people used to talk about on the forums all the time. Was it Joel's? Like the land dodger?
Yeah, that's not the same. So, that's not the same guy.
Maybe it's just like a cursed name, man. Maybe it's just a cursed name, and it's fucked. You gotta get name changed at birth or something.
I'm fine.
But he was like, didn't he get banned from ESIC and then he got unbanned from ESIC?
Well, it was like suspension, right? Not like 100% bad yet. Like he still had some time to present his defense and all that stuff. Like so he couldn't play for that time. And apparently he got a lot of those charges like that they couldn't. There was not enough evidence for them to prove any sort of cheating. But I think there was enough for them to at least get him on the fact that he bet on some of his matches, and but I think on both sides of that, like both winning and losing, I would have to go back and check the exact details.
I mean, I don't think ESIC really gave the full, as they never do,
full
right?
story, right?
Like of what, so they put out some stuff and then they kind of pulled it back, and now no one really knows what is like factually proven and out there, what is not. But apparently he did nothing wrong, but like nothing that would get him banned, which is, based on everything I've heard, sounds incredible. Sounds completely unplausible that this guy does not get a ban of some sort. Like it's very weird. It's very weird that this happens. And it just feels like another case of like lawyer up and do whatever the fuck you want. As long as you post a very sad statement of how you have a lot of problems, like, I don't know, energy drink addiction or some shit like that, which was literally in the statement. I don't know how that has to do anything with placing bets on matches, but somehow it does. Anyway, Lucas, can you bring up the signing tweet that I just shared?
I've learned that I can share my screen as well, so if we ever need that at any point,
okay,
we might unleash that fury. We'll see if Lucas can get this up in time.
Because this is so good. So obviously, he has a very low reputation right now. TSM signed him. Interesting. I think they're also not only their reputation, but like a team like Godsend got pretty fucked because they had Joel on their team and they got blacklisted from a lot of tournaments after that. But he got signed, and this is the statement. This is the statement. Chad, take it away.
They don't hate the good ones; they hate the great ones. Kobe Bryant. It's easy to win because most motherfuckers are weak. David Goggins. In the end, we'll remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Martin Luther King Jr.
And you know what? Like, I don't understand any of these quotes. Like, what they have to do with anything that just happened. Like, I don't get it. I don't get what he was trying to say here.
I can explain from my
your expertise of the Swedish scene. Like,
yes, I've been around now a few events. Been to the Subway League, been to some other tournament, and I can poem interpretation of this. It's not a poem; it's prose, right? The first two would imply that he's just an amazing player. essentially, and that's why it's like it's so easy to win because everyone is bad essentially. It's just like me playing Mario Kart on like a family gathering. It's like it's not that I'm good; it's that everyone else is bad. That's how it is.
Okay.
And then the third one is essentially about everyone from his like friends that didn't support him when he got suspended and that talked shit. That's what he's saying. Like the silence of your friends will be remembered, not like other random people talking shit. So
sure.
That's it.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I do like what you've done there, Prof. You've really broken this down for everybody playing at home. I just think he's a troll. That's what I'm taking from this. I just think he's having a bit of a laugh, having a bit of a giggle. Okay, well, yeah, there you go. That's he's not even Danish, he's Swedish. The last little piece of Danish news was over there at Sashi, another Danish team. Lucas, you know a lot about these guys? Are they in your league?
Yeah, they are also in the league. They won it last season.
There you go. This team is coached by Hunden. Now, they had some bigger names come in recent time. Borup's there now. Niko's there, which is really interesting considering the Niko and Hunden relationship. Like, fucking hell. FASHR is there.
And Borup is also in that team, by the way.
Time. Heroic.
In the heroic team that like where the matches happened that Hunden was using the coach bug in. So that Borup is also involved in that.
Is he really?
He was in that team, yeah.
He was on that team, but he left. He was the first one to leave, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Both him and Niko got replaced by Refresh and
Shush.
Yeah, okay. And then they're joining Nut and Nixon.
Amazing name.
Nixon's got some hype around him, though, doesn't he? This kid, like I've seen some people getting somewhat excited about him for a little bit period of time.
Wasn't he the MVP of IEM5?
IEM5. Oh yeah, holy shit! You've really, yeah, great, sick one. You've Mark Wintered me right there. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I just wanted to. I'm just getting the news out there. We don't need to talk about this for too long. I just wanted so the people know what's happening. So that's
this is just like this is why I don't care about any of these like player statements when they get hit by a ban and then they like pour out their heart and soul how everything is so bad and how no one understands their suffering and blah blah. Just these two things. Just look at what people say and look at the results of what happens in like 2 months, 3 months, whatever. It's like, oh my God, it's so hard for me. And then like, I'm everything. I'm back.
I'm good now.
I'm back. That's it. Time stop.
Dimitri, flag that one.
40 minutes in. But it's the same thing with Niko and Hunden being in this like whole thing, whatever, and Niko just not being accused for anything, even though he admitted stuff because blah blah. And
you got to put food on the table.
Hunden tried to manipulate him, and he's an awful human being. But then when you don't have anyone else to play with, he's actually not that bad. So
you got to put food on the table. Okay, jumping into our next pieces of news. 00 Nation. They signed FASHR and is it VLDN? Am I saying that right? VLDN. That's the guy. Vladan, who stood in for ENTS at CAC. Been so many standards in the last couple of months, man. Like, fuck me. Stood in for ENTS because, was it Diha who couldn't make it? Someone couldn't make it at CAC. So their roster has Sirison, JDC, and Bird from Sky, or God from Sky, as I'm sure most of you know him.
Seems like CAC was a tournament when everyone on ENTS decided to leave, but no one told Diha because he wasn't there.
Stuck at home. The poor guy. The poor guy got left at home. So that's the new 00 Nation roster. I don't know if maybe they could join our poll. We could have thrown them in the poll and TSM in the poll.
27 years of age on average.
Holy shit. Well, FASHR was on fnatic, which was the old boy roster. He's 27.
Oh, because Bird from Sky is 30, FASHR and Sirison at 27.
Yeah, Sirison 27 now.
Yeah.
Fuck. Damn. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Okay. We'll see how this team goes. It is a lineup. They have 5 players confirmed.
Players. I liked what I saw from Vladan. I think he's like a decent player. Definitely. I think he belongs in this kind of international top 30, 40 lineup. I think he can start from there.
I'm not laughing at him. I just looked at Twitch chat. I just see like 6 comments in a row. Radar from Sky. Like, fucking hell, man.
UAV, as they call him.
Fuck.
I liked Vladan from the CAC stand. Not exactly because of how he's playing. Like he was decent enough. Like he did okay for that tournament, but just like he seemed to be the guy who was like bringing everybody up like when they were losing and stuff like that. And that was like incredible to me, that this is a guy that's never played at this level, and he's the guy who's like bringing up Ents, you know, who just were like a top 3 team for half of the year or whatever. That was funny.
All right, and I mean, he also started the tournament super shit and then recovered, so that's also a good sign, right?
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Let's jump into PLANO. So this is KNG's project, which has been going for some time now, but hasn't really said boo to a goose. Now we need it. Isn't this a roster? Isn't this this is like Boomer Demons, but the fucking the Brazilian version. This is the Brazilian Boomer Demons.
Yeah.
It's FNX. So as we all know, no FNX, no Major. KNG, FASHR, who's fucking jacked at the moment. I don't know if anyone got this guy on Instagram. He's fucking huge.
I mean, he's always been, but now even more, I guess.
It's fucking giga jacked. Bolts and Taco is back in business, baby. And you thought the other boys had a fucking high average age. This is 30.6 as of an average age for these boys right here. This is obviously a very experienced roster. I think we could say that much. Do they have any chance in the major cycle? Do they have a chance?
The problem is that probably yes.
Yeah, and is that a problem? Would we be excited watching? Imagine this team play. Imagine the viewership. They might even rival a Fallen game.
Probably, yeah. Imagine they do it without Fallen. I mean, like he was always like the godfather of Brazilian Counter-Strike. He was the one who we thought brought them, to the major like last time with Imperial and all that stuff. Like when they had their little honeymoon when they first announced that team. Imagine if this team does it without the bait piece.
Well, Taco will in-game lead, right? He was doing that when he was part of the 00 Nation roster, right?
I think wasn't KNG also leading for some time? I don't remember now.
Yeah. And Bolts and KNG were on that team. If we all go back to PGL Krakow 2017.
Went to the final, you mean?
Yeah, they're in the major grand final.
He is a major finalist.
FNX, FASHR, and Taco have all won majors together. So if you think about that, these guys...
very major experienced.
Yeah, they've got the field covered. Anything's spot. No, this would be fun. It'd be fun to watch. Let's see what caliber of Counter-Strike they bring to the table. They're all doing other things in live streaming or whatever, right? This isn't their number one priority, but it's cool to see them still playing.
Yeah. I was hating on the first, the first Brazilian reunion, but that one at least had some pieces that I thought we're gonna stick around. I mean, I still think that Taco has a future somewhere, but at least this is a team that you're not really expecting these guys to go anywhere else and bring a lot to them at this point. They're just recycling the whole the same thing over and over. And so I'm yeah, fuck it. Let's just see where this goes.
I think it'd be fun if they stream their games or whatever and they got viewership.
I mean, it's gonna be. I'm sure it's gonna be fun, and I'm sure that Brazil is gonna be hyped up about it. So one more time, and they're gonna be fine. It's if they do well, good for them.
Yeah. All right. We'll see what happens there. And finally, a sad piece. Well, I don't know if it's a sad piece of news. It's maybe not a sad piece of news, but I think we should always, give a nod to some of the greats. And back when I was on the come up and I was, watching Counter-Strike in Australia back in the 1.6 days and watching the very best in the world play, Edward of Na'Vi fame was one of them. And he's announced his retirement recently. And he was someone who was just an absolute fucking beast of the game. Someone with the Zeus, the Senya, Markelov Starix roster. They, were an institution, and they kind of gave way to the Na'Vi that we know today, and that's a massive organization and a huge mainstay in Counter-Strike. I think he posted up a picture. He's expecting a child, so congratulations to him for that. And just wanted to give a shout out to Edward on being such an instrumental figure in Counter-Strike, because he's one of the I don't want to say forefathers. He wasn't there in the very, very early days, but someone who
not so far off, to be honest. He was in some team 2005 or whatever, where he was already competing. That was Prosto, I think, even which is now Zeus's organization. It wasn't at the time, but that's a fairly legendary name from those times.
And he's got one of the most iconic aces of all time, I would say. If people remember on Tuscan,
pistol on Tuscan.
Yeah, just bopping his way down short and then just bop, 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 bop. And everybody dies in mid. So, yeah, just a bit of a shout out to Edward. And obviously, in the early stages of CS:GO as well, he was a very good player in the early days. Did he feature in the top 20 in the early days? I think he may have in 2013, maybe.
He was in 2013. He was number 16 now.
Yeah. So carried along some of that ability in the early days. So yeah, shout out to Edward. So I don't know if you guys want to say anything. It's not a funeral or anything. It's just
No, moving on to new challenges as they do, right? So cool from him. Like also like Navi early on, he left Navi right in the early CS:GO, went to the whole what became Hellraisers, Astana Dragons kind of super team early on, and Navi kind of struggled until he came back, and that started the whole Navi, let's say, being, I don't know even how to describe them. I think they are the most consistent team in CS:GO, like in terms of an organization that has always been in like all of the majors playoffs, winning only at the end, but like they have always been consistent and like just a stalwart, right, team throughout CS:GO. So he had definitely he was a part of that. Right?
Yeah. All right. Cool. Now, Striker, you're about to be put under the bloody spotlight here, mate, because we're going to jump forward. We're done with the recent news. The top 20 for HLTV. It has caused a bit of a ruckus, as it does every year, but I think people forget that it does every year. And we've had quite a tumultuous year. We've had a new game come out. We've had the tail end of the year just been plagued by consistent roster changes, as well as a new game. And we found ourselves in a position where nobody has been able to predict anything at all with the top 20 so far, Striker. And as we discussed last time around, we kind of prophesized that might be the case. So apparently you fucked up the world. What have you done?
Apparently, yeah. I think that's actually like, it's kind of curious because I was looking through, like, we have numbers on like the prediction game, which I think had like 20,000 people take part in, or 15,000 or something like that. And we have like data on like fairly like top 5 for each position or something like that. And I was looking through it, and I mean, I'm not going to get into like what it looks like further from here and like how accurate people were for that. But at least for the first 11, which is probably the hardest part, the bottom 5, let's say, the 16 to 20 like mark, those are the hardest to predict, just because there's maybe like 10 other players that didn't make it, but that kind of had a chance, were somewhere in that discussion, right? And like depending on what you prioritize, you might think that they deserved it, didn't deserve it, whatever. And like based on those predictions, there were 2 big outliers. Maybe 3, even including like people that didn't make it. One of them was Twists, who I think only appeared in like 14th place in top 5, like in the top 5. Otherwise, like he didn't appear in anybody's like big, like somewhere in the deeper end. And he was obviously number 20. And Frozen, who people had, I don't know, like 5 spots higher, like on average or so, something like that. Other than that, like everybody kind of fell in the range where they were predicted pretty heavily in terms of the prediction game. So I feel like, in terms of like that is getting a bad reception, I think a lot of it is just because like everybody has an opinion, everybody has their own criteria for what they thought. A lot of people will just look at average rating for the year, and we literally put in the introduction article, like, don't look just at the average rating for the year and like have that be the be all end all for where the top 20 should fall. There's obviously a lot more that goes into that, into deciding who falls where, than just like whatever their rating and achievements were for the year. That's not how it goes.
Well, this is the thing, right? I think that you mentioned one of these that got a huge critique was the Frozen situation. Yeah. You can put these articles out and you have explainers in there for everything. And I think this is something else as well, that the HLTV rating is the HLTV rating, right? People can look at other ratings. We've had big discussions in the past. I remember there was it last year, or was it the year before? Last year was 2023, maybe it was 2022, when there was the whole like leaderify thing. And I know that you guys, Prof, I know you were tweeting like back and forth with Maui about stuff, I think. But like this is what HLTV are putting out there, and the people who are behind HLTV and behind this ranking are putting out there, right? And I don't think everybody is always going to have the same opinion on anything, really. And when it comes to something which is Counter-Strike, a team game, and now we're picking individuals who all have different starting points, people are going to have differences in opinion. But this Frozen one, why do you think this one got such a large, I don't want to say backlash?
I mean, to be fair, like even before we started getting into it, like very in depth into like the top 20 and like analyzing from an event to event and all that stuff, and like the awards and everything like that, like just looking at the year rating, you would think, okay, like Frozen played against the top competition. He played in a lot of the big tournaments, and he has like I think it was 119 average rating he was, which is like, numbers that like you would expect to fall somewhere in the top 5 or somewhere in that area, like if you see a player who has like 120 rating, and that's usually like somewhere very, very deep in the top 20. But like as you keep looking a little bit further, it's maybe not as strong of a case, just because he only had like 2 big big event peaks, you know, where he had some awards, and like other than that, like his floor was really good and his consistency was really good from tournament to tournament, but he didn't really have the biggest peaks. And also like a lot of his rating was through survival rather than, you know, like killing or multi-kills, stuff like that. That's more direct impact. Or even like his numbers and on MOUZ's wins, for example, you know, were fairly low, even compared to like people like Xerxon or Torji, you know, who were quite like more directly impactful on MOUZ's success from like on a round-to-round basis rather than just like their deep tournament runs, you know. So I feel like once I actually started looking into it a little bit more further, I did see that okay, he doesn't have as strong as a case as it looks from like if you just like look at blank of the tournament page, you know, and how he did from tournament to tournament, you know, it just wasn't as strong of a case as it looks on like the base, like the raw stats.
Okay. Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, I'm not the type of guy. Like, when Prof asked me to throw my shit together, my prediction for the top 20 on the website, I just did it quickly on my phone when I was out. Like, I didn't sit there and study the stats and go, I think these guys are here. Or for me, this is just a little bit of fun.
That's also what most people will do, and that's also why like it's a little bit frustrating sometimes just to see the reaction, because like most people will make their prediction like within 5 minutes, you know, and they're like gonna look at the year-long ratings and they're gonna think like, okay, this guy wasn't as good. Like, I don't like this guy so much. He should be lower or whatever. Like, he didn't really play that many tournaments, so he should be lower. That, like, of course, that's also a factor. I mean, that's why BlameF device, even for their numbers, were relatively lower than their numbers would suggest. You know, like Device's numbers were fucking crazy. Like, that's if he had played like deeper into the tournaments, and if he had shown that sort of a level on a consistent level, like deeper into tournaments, if he had played Katowice and the major, where, you know, you do have to like put up pretty decent numbers to like make a deep case, like he would have been like top 3 with the sort of numbers he put up. Like that is a crazy stat sheet. But obviously, you know, he got what, 2 semifinals in the entire year, missed 2 of the 3 biggest events of the year, missed a lot of the other like elite events that we put up, you know. So like it's hard to put him anywhere higher when he didn't confirm that level at the biggest tournaments, you know.
I want to ask a question, because before I made a statement saying, you know, we had the change of game and the tail end of the year with all the stand-ins and stuff. Are those actually factors that would have made this year more difficult than other years? Like, how do you even go about grading something like that? And now with less rounds and people are talking about, right. I see people commenting about the rating, you know, 2.0 maybe not being fit for MR12. Like, are those factors at all that have come into play or conversation?
I mean, we didn't know. We basically looked at the entire year as if like it was it's not like every tournament is the same. We obviously have like different categories that we put up, right? But like some of the CS2 events made it to like the elite category that we set up. Like Sydney was one of the elite tournaments, you know, and that's just purely down to the level of competition and kind of like a prestige of the tournaments that also like comes into play, you know. And like Sydney, like for example, like people were asking about like why Sydney is an elite event where like Dallas or Rio isn't. Sydney just had better competition. Like they just had more of the top 10 teams, like way more. Even like Dallas and Rio were fairly badly attended for like a top tier event, you know. So that's why they didn't make it to the elite category. They were just like the normal big events, along with pro leagues, with the 2 pro leagues and the 2 the 2 blast finals. But yeah, I mean, we didn't look at like whether people put up those numbers in CS2 or not CS2, because eventually like you're looking at the entire year as a Counter-Strike, you know, and it's not like we can make a clear distinction of like, okay, just because it was CS2 lower rounds, like we don't know, like we can't really make an objective decision on how much lower or higher that should weigh. Like there's no formula for that, you know, like I don't know how to do that. And by the way, like rating, like for the year, for the average, like rating works like on average for the amount of rounds, you know. So even though we have MR12, like it will, like once it compounds for an entire tournament, you know, like that difference isn't that huge in terms of MR12 versus MR15, like in terms of the sample size. And even that, with that in mind, you know, CS2 will just naturally have a slightly lower impact on like the average ratings for the year, just because they have fewer rounds played, you know. And so like the rating comes from fewer rounds than it did in CSGO, for example, you know. So it will be a little bit less, like each map in CS2 will be a little bit less valued in like a year average compared to a map in
there's less
CSGO.
round, yeah.
But that's more like from a very purely statistical point of view. It's not like we looked at IM Sydney and said, okay, just because it was MR12, it has less of a factor than it had at like whatever whatever event that was in CSGO.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just to kind of try to simplify what Striker said, because I said this on Twitter like 2 months ago or whatever. Yes, ratings for individual games, especially like a map, can look kind of weird because there's like less rounds, more outlier results, right, and stuff like that. But the way rating works for an event is not like, oh, you played 10 maps, get rating of every map and then divide by 10, right? It's literally combine all the rounds you played and then calculate rating. So that's why sometimes it doesn't really add up when you look at people's like ratings from maps and people divide like, oh, 3 maps divided by 3, and it doesn't work out because it calculates them. So one map can have like 20 rounds and another map can have 40 rounds. So the map that has 40 rounds has more weight than the one that has 20 rounds, because we look at literally
rating from that
every round played. So essentially everything that's weird about rating in CS2, when you look at the year or even at a tournament, it evens out. That's why you don't really, you look at every event rating, there's nothing weird like, oh my god, the guy has a 1.60 rating. Like no one has a 1.60 rating at an event. Like if he does, he's fucking insane, right? It's still the kind of the same ranges of like the MVP is going to have between a 1.20 to 1.30, and works the same on bigger sample sizes.
So it just, this is unrelated obviously to the top 20, but is there plans for a 3.0 in the near future?
I mean, we're always looking at how to improve it, right? And I think like obviously a fair criticism of the current rating that it doesn't take economy into consideration. And that's something that's probably the biggest factor.
Expose the eco hunter, Striker.
I mean, we did with that, for example. I mean, even through like in the top 20, like there's like 2 people that did end up lower than they probably could have been if they had more direct impact, were BlameF and Frozen. Like it's interesting, like how did Harry put it?
It's the meme. What is it, like harassment versus flirting, that meme? For Frozen like, versus BlameF, right?
Basically, like, because BlameF has such a bad reputation, like people look at him as like this massive baiter. And yes, his saving stats were like worse than any worse. I'm saying worse. They were much higher than everybody else on the top 20, and even outside of Jame, I think even very further on, like out of like the top 50 people or whatever. His numbers were quite far, but for example, Frozen still had like something like 15% of lost rounds saved, where BlameF is like 19, I think. And that's still 16, I think it was for Frozen even. And that's still, I think, the second highest in the top 20 or somewhere there, So Frozen is still saving a lot compared to everybody else in the top 20, as an example, Yeah. And the same way we don't obviously look at every single round of every single tournament, and it's not necessarily possible to watch everything and be able to track like against the economy that they played and all that stuff. We did used to try to do that in like when we were doing EVPs for like generally like awards for an event. Like there was a better way to actually watch the entire event, but these days you just have much more dual streams and stuff like that, so it's much harder. But like in the past, like eco hunting. And even when we were looking at the awards and stuff like that did play a big factor. How much of those stats come from just like big multi kills and in eco rounds. That people just go and they have their like little red indicator. Whenever they know that the opponent is on pistols.
Yeah.
So like that also like when we can, we try to take that into consideration. But at the moment, we don't have the stats for it super in depth. So it's difficult to do on a good scale.
Okay. All right. Lucas, are you there? Yeah, I'm here. Run the ads.
Best esports odds. VIP program and a variety of bonuses. Fast and easy withdrawals. Bet on every possible CSGO matching tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Do you want to change your boring old skins for awesome new ones fast, without losing a lot of value, and without the risk of getting scammed? Go to tradeit.gg and safely trade your items within 60 seconds. Just select which items you want to trade from your inventory and choose whatever skin you want from Trade It's inventory. Click Trade, verify the trade on Steam, and you're good to go. With the biggest inventory available for the lowest trading fees on the market, TradeIt.gg is your go-to whenever you want to play with new skins.
All right, welcome back from the break. Thank you for sticking with us. We're going to get straight into Skinionaire, brought to you by TradeIt.gg. But if you have any more questions regarding the top 20, I implore you to head over to the forums or get on Twitter
and make a thread. HLTV scam.
Yeah, and you
X
know,
robbed.
Put your own rankings up. Have a conversation about it. It's okay that your opinion is different. That's fine. That's okay. In this world, you're probably going to find a lot of people who have differences of opinions than you. And you know what? Just because HLTV put a guy at 15 and you didn't put him at 15, that's okay. That's all right, guys. It's all going to be okay.
I mean,
everything's going to be fine.
Something that people have to take into consideration. I mean, this is our list. This is our criteria. You can disagree with it. You know, like you can have different criteria. Make your own list. Make your own decisions on who you think was the better player. Whatever.
I was talking to Yanko and Jason about this yesterday. Like for me, when we're talking individual accolades in Counter-Strike, like for me, if you're the best player in the world or you're like a top 5 player in the world, that's pretty fucking sick, right? But a lot of these players all play different roles and different positions and do different things, which all means different things in the team-based game that is Counter-Strike. So my opinion on who's an influential player might be different from profs or strikers based on the way that we like to watch Counter-Strike and what we think's impactful within a game. I have like in-game leader brain from fucking 10 years ago, so I'm kind of viewing it through that lens. Everyone has differences of opinions. And, you know, for the players, having the accolade of being mentioned in HLTV's top 20, it's very prestigious because of what it has turned into and the players that have come before. And that all means great. And it's great that you guys at home get involved in it as well. But again, we can have differences of opinion and you can value different things, you know, and that's just the way the cookie's going to crumble. But trade it in chat right now. That's your raffle ticket. You only have to do it once, but you can spam it as many times as you like. Like I said, time and time again. We love it. We love the interaction. Keep the spam going. Now, we're going to do 5 questions. Each question the prof and or striker get correct here today, we'll move that slider up. And you, I'm talking to you at home, maybe, just maybe, you will be the lucky winner of today's grand prize. Now, I'm going to keep this one themed to the top 20. Did I shave my head again? Nah, I just had a shower and washed it.
I saw one comment. I don't know if you saw
like
it.
Turning emo, man.
Turning emo, yeah. It's pretty good. Nice fringe. Someone asked if I'm balding again.
You're definitely not balding. I can say that.
You're bouldering.
That picture was just from this time last year.
Matcha latte. That's how you look.
It's
very hip.
I made a frappuccino. I just washed it. It's a bit all over the place. But I still got to put the chemicals in there every day.
Someone said you look like a person that if you run in the woods, you would believe 100% all of your advice. And I think with the hat, yes. With this, no.
No, now I wouldn't either.
With this, I feel like
this is like fake lumberjack. Yeah.
Yes, this is like lumberjack, but only to like get laid.
Yeah.
Not like actually for the woods.
It's like the lumberjack look, not the actual.
He's looking
lumberjack.
out for his own wood, not the trees. Yeah.
All right, it's back.
Yeah,
we're back how we were. It's all over the place. All right, let's get into this. Gentlemen, are you ready to go? You can team up. You can work together. This one is not as funny as last week's. It's a little bit more historical to do with the HLTV top 20. So we'll see if the two of you can put your heads together here.
I hope I don't fuck that up.
Let's see. Let's find out.
Either going to be super easy or...
it's moderate. It's moderate. It's not super easy. It's not super hard. All right. Question numero uno. HLTV Top 20 list started in 2010 during 1.6. Who was the first runner-up in 2010 and 2011? Was it Markelov, Get Right, or Neo?
Get Right both years, I'm pretty sure, right? It must have been. Because 2010 was Markelov number 1, and 2011 was Neo number 1. So it must have been Get Right number 2 both times. Yes. I don't actually remember Get Right being number 2 both times, but he was definitely somewhere up there. And he was number 1 in... Well, actually, this wasn't that wasn't the list at that time.
2013, yeah. So kind of before my time. So I'll just go. This
should be Get Right.
And the correct answer is B, Get Right. Striker there, just smashing through that one quite quickly. All right, question number 2. In 2013, how many NIP players were ranked in the top 10? Was it 2, 3, or 4?
Oof, top 10.
I would almost say all 4.
Bro.
I think there's a good chance it was all 4. So like Get Right was first, and Forest was second.
Second or third, yeah.
Second. Exist was like 6, I want to say, and I think Freiburg might have been.
I think it's 3.
Top 10.
I don't think Freiburg was in the top. I don't think it was 2 or 3 in my opinion.
Definitely not 2. No, 100% at least 3. 100% at least 3. I think there's a chance that it's 4. But I'm not sure. Like, they were 4 in the top 20, 100%. Top 10, I'm not so sure.
Yes. Okay.
I would go with 4.
Okay. Take it.
Prof, do you want to take the answer on this one, or do you want to go with Striker? You got 10 seconds.
I feel like you're trying to sway me to 3, but
I'm letting you do whatever you want.
I'm going to listen
5 seconds.
to Striker. I'm going to listen to Striker. I'm going to go with 4.
All right, well, we've locked in 4, and the correct answer is B,
3, right?
3.
Doesn't matter. I was right, so that's all.
How far off was Freiburg?
1 place. He was 11th.
He was 11th,
bro.
Motherfucker.
I know,
Fuck
but Get Right was number 1. Forest was number 2. Exist came in at 6, and Freiburg came in at 11.
I got the motherfucker that 1 spot. Really?
I told you it was. It's not easy, not hard. We're in the middle of the pack with this one here.
I actually got the Exist right. I'm impressed with myself, to be honest, that I got him on 6.
All right, question number 3. Which nationality has the most appearances in the top 20 for CS2/CSGO?
What are then? What is
Sweden,
this?
France, or Denmark?
It's not going to be France, right?
Oh, bro, this is.
I don't think it can. I don't think it. I'm assuming this counts for like the same player multiple times, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it has to be
entries.
Denmark. They've just been the best, the longest. Like there's how many? Like 5 this year. How many French people?
There weren't that many in the last few years though. But French, I'm sure it's not France. I think it's between Sweden and Denmark. But Sweden hasn't been really featured for a few years.
Yeah.
And I feel like Denmark's always been there.
Has to be
Denmark. I would probably say Denmark. Yeah.
Okay. Locking in C, Denmark, and the correct answer is C, Denmark. Yes.
Do you know the numbers?
Yeah, it's like. Well, I don't know with the completed list from this year because I don't know how many more entries from which nationality you're going to get. But at the moment, 41 for Denmark, 30 for Sweden, and 22 for France.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Question number 4. 2022 featured how many players in the top 20 from the USA? 0, 1, or 2? And I want to say this again. 2022 featured how many players in the top
USA.
20 from the USA?
So not Twists doesn't count.
Not Twists.
Not NAF doesn't count. Elige was not there.
NAF didn't make it, just barely, I think, last year either.
Doesn't matter. But Elige was not there.
No, Elige missed it last year for the first time, I remember.
So no USA players, I would say. Who could we be missing?
I'm trying to think if we're missing somebody like obvious, but I don't think so.
USA. No EG players for sure.
There was no OC or anything like that.
We're the best NA teams.
Think.
We're the best. It has to be Liquid, right?
It was, yeah.
Liquid made 2020.
I think you're right. I think it's 0. Maybe I'm missing somebody obvious. 5 seconds.
Okay,
I think
go
it's
0.
Go 0.
Locking in A, 0, and the correct answer is 0. Yes, it was a bit of a tricky one there, gentlemen, but you're right. Elige didn't make the top 20, and thus 0. 0 USA players in 2022. All right, question number 5, 5th and final. This is a salt in the wound question. Which nationality has only appeared once in the top 20 during the online era? So that's the pandemic. Turkey, Bulgaria, or Germany?
I mean, it's got to be Surson, no?
No, wait. Just. Oh, what about Zantares? Was Zantares?
I know he wasn't. He didn't make it.
Okay, then it has to be, yeah.
It's Serson, I think. Yeah.
Wait. Voxic had a top 20.
But not in those 2019.
Can you explain the question? I'm kind of confused.
Only once during the online era.
All of these nationalities have only appeared once in the HLTV top 20.
Okay.
And one of the three only appeared in the online era.
Okay, Germany. That's Germany then. Okay.
Yeah. So I just wanted to call Germans onliners. I thought that would be fun.
The Bulgarian, right there.
Yeah, and he was 2019 alongside of Voxic, right? Because that was their EG run. So locking in C, Germany. Correct answer is C, Germany. And we just wanted to, Orf gets Junge. So 4 out of 5, gentlemen. That's a 15.
And one of them was a fucking curveball.
Yeah, right. So look, it wasn't the easiest. I wanted to do a little bit of history, so I did some older stuff, I did some newer stuff, I did some funny stuff. So tried to have a nice little mix of questions there. The winner of the $15 voucher for Trader.gg is Hydram. That is HYDRAMRN. Congratulations or commiserations because you didn't get the grand prize. So hopefully you can use that regardless. Get yourself a few P250 sand dunes. Our people reach out to your people. And we'll go from there. All right. That was Skinionaire. I hope everybody enjoyed their stay. And keep the show going because now we're going to get into, we already spoke about butter being ficus. Now let's get into the bread. It's the start of a year, 2024. And as we look forward, we have a lot of Counter-Strike coming our way. We've already mentioned it today. We discussed the fact that the open qualifiers for the RMRs will be kicking off tomorrow in a whole bunch of different regions and sub-regions and all that good stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, we're going to be talking about that now. But I was doing up a bit of a document, and then I was going through it, and I was like, this kind of shit just bores the socks off of people. So I didn't make it as long as what I was going to or as in-depth. So the three of us can talk through important details of what we think as we go through this. I'm going to share my screen, I suppose. Let's see if I can do this. Lucas, are you ready? Hopefully he's ready. Okay, so that's the one. Share. Can you see it? Can you see it? Can everyone see it? I think you can see it.
I see it. I don't know about the chat, but yeah.
Okay. So as you can see here, look, I've got this lovely little slide. It says
this is beautiful.
Professional Counter-Strike 2 roadmap for 2022.
And a professional presentation as well.
Thank you very much. A brief look at what to expect in 2024. I said I feel like it needs
at least 1 or 2 more fonts.
Yeah, I think so too. Yes, Striker?
I'll just say, there's not really breaking news, but there's an interesting tweet. Exis just posted an update that he hasn't signed with a team for 2024. So it's not Astralis, as we were kind of wondering.
Yeah, they haven't announced the coach yet, so we don't know who Astralis have as a coach.
But they also said at the time that they didn't have anybody, kind of insinuated they didn't have anybody locked in at the time yet. They said we would update you when we would have an answer or whatever. And Astralis are generally very trigger happy with their announcements. They want to put it out there basically as soon as it's actually official, usually. So yeah, curious.
All right.
Curious.
Keep our eyes on that.
There's also a tweet from Dexter. On the way on meeting with the CEO of an EU team organization. Share your questions and comments, and I will try my best to ask them. Will this be? Is he now a journalist?
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting news right there from Dexter.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eyes on all the tweets. All right. Next slide, everybody. Here we go. Now, this is a big... I don't know what's going to happen when I click this. I don't know if it'll take us to the page I want this to go to, so I might have to share and unshare. Oh, it hasn't. Okay, hold up 1 second. Well, we click the big red button. Hold up 1 second. Let me unshare. And then I'm going to share. So this is what the big red button takes us to. Open motherfucking circuit in 51 weeks, 2 days, 6 hours, 43 minutes, and 1 second. That's next year. This is the last year of partner leagues. The last year that Blast and ESL can run their formats the way they've been doing for ESL with Pro League. And what do you mean?
That's what we want.
Yeah, that's all right. No, that's funny, Lucas. That's good. Keep it up. The comedic relief. I like it.
It just looked very odd on the screen.
Yeah, it does, with all the ads as well. What's going on here? What the fuck is this shit? What are these? Nana? What? I just did 9 months of the inside. What the fuck's this stuff? Anyway, this is the countdown that I wanted you all to be focusing on right here. So this is the last year that we'll have to worry about these partner leagues. Just wanted to really drive this home. So that's part of the roadmap of this year, because the reason this is important. And Prof and Striker, maybe you guys have heard something over on the grapevine, but we have to get information this year from Valve or TOs on how they're going to run things next year, right? That has to happen at some point this year. I know we're just starting 2024, but that information will have to come at some point, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That is
I
true.
imagine kind of, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
We are
We don't
living
know
in super uncertainty. Like as we were tweeting a bit today, it is kind of weird, not weird, just a bit unorganized with a lack of CSPPA and the whole like tournament break situation. But at least for this year, we kind of knew, you know, the big tournaments, who's doing what when, because we're just continuing doing what we did before.
Yes.
2025, I don't know, like we're not going to start the year with a blast group stage into Katowice, into something, into EPL. In there, it might happen, but there's no reason to expect it to happen. There is most likely going to be, you know, overlap of tournaments and different tournaments fighting for, you know, the same times, and who's going to decide what's going to happen where. Is Valve going to be involved in that? Like, that seems necessary, but it also seems very unlikely based on everything we know about Valve. So what the fuck is going to happen? I don't know. How's it gonna work? Who's going to take control? Usually, if we go back to, let's say 2015-16, Chad, you can fill me in here if you think I'm wrong, and Striker as well. But there was like a tournament calendar with all the TOs kind of trying
to get
arrange stuff,
and to the PEA stuff.
But at the end of the day, it was like ESL was the biggest, and therefore they had the most say on like kind of first pick of when they want to do stuff, and then others would overlap sometimes or work around it, right? And then it would kind of be a pecking order of weeks and dates to do stuff. So I feel like that's what will happen again.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how different TOs try and incentivize their tournaments over other TOs who are going to come into the space. So that's stuff that's developing. I guess we're going to find out more of that as the year unfolds, and we can see what rumors we can pick up with that and what different leaks we can get. But yeah, the main stat of this, gentlemen, and this is for everybody playing at home, is in the year for 2024, we've got three major players here, right? We've got the majors, which is obviously Valve endorsed as the pinnacle of competition. There's got the in-game itemization with the stickers, which is essentially how you at home can help get money into the pockets of the players if you're interested. It's open to everybody. If you guys are interested in taking part in the qualifiers, you can head over to Challenger mode, sign up a team in whatever region you're in. It's got all the information. It's got the anti-cheat, even though Loba was trying to say there was no anti-cheat. It's called Acros. .ac. You guys can go over there and check it all out on that website, challengermode.com. I can even put the link for the European qualifier in Twitch chat right now. But yeah, so if people want to be involved, it's open to everybody for the majors. If maybe some people who are watching are not too informed with that. And we have two of them, or we're meant to have two of them every year. The other two major players that we have is Blast. So we know that they have a closed and now 16-team group circuit, 7 events per year. 2 of those are the group stages. 2 of them are online qualifiers, being the showdown, and 2 of them are the season finals, which are the arena events, and the world final, which has obviously been in the smaller type arenas over the last couple. ESL, they have the 2-time semi-closed pro league, right? So there's a bunch of partner teams in there, but there's also a bunch of teams which are able to get in through different qualification methods. 5 tier 1 standalone events. So that's your Dallases, for example, your Cologne, your Katowices, 2 tier 2 online leagues, and 4 tier 2 standalone events. Now, ESL and Blast both put out graphics that kind of show their year. And I have a calendar I'll bring up soon, and we can go through all the months and we can see how jam-packed it's going to
be. You could be technically correct if you would add like 2 times open online qualifier for Blast.
Semi-open, I would say.
Yeah, semi-open online qualifier. But other than that, yeah, I think this is fine.
Yeah, and then
pedantic.
Obviously the other players. So PGL, Perfect World. So PGL doing both the majors this year. The second one in conjunction with Perfect World. Alyssa Masters.
Didn't they say they tried to say that it wasn't like that? Perfect World, that is.
But PGL announced it, didn't they? On their. Oh no, it was on the end of the CAC broadcast, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it was at the end of the CSC thing.
And
but I mean, PGL will be involved in some way. It's just not like it is under the Perfect World umbrella, and I think PGL will run like some of the like English broadcast stuff and maybe a part of the tournament. I'm not sure exactly, but there's some collaboration there. But Perfect World is the de facto tournament organizer.
Yeah, Extreme Land, which is doing something early on in the year, and then we have all the online events and everything. So that's essentially the lay of the land for 2024. And as Prof was just talking about before, once we get into 2025, we don't know what's going to happen. So if we take a look here, right, this is going to be, I had another one, which was, maybe it's not in there. Doesn't matter. I might have deleted it. So this is what ESL put out in terms of their events for the year. Katowice, the first one, January 31 to February 11th. Then you've got IEM China, ESL Pro League, IEM Dallas, IEM Cologne, Pro League Season 20, and then IEM Fall. That's the tier ones that I just had listed. And then the tier 2 events are the ESL Challenger events, which essentially are DreamHack Open events. They're just rebranded. There's going to be 4 of those. And then the 2 online ESL Challenger Leagues, which I guess is what ESEA, what did it used to be?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Like
Premier or MDL, whatever.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm curious about is if ESL are going to be able to keep like a circuit, because obviously this is part of the Pro Tour, right? And everything's meant to feed into the top of the pyramid, with Katowice and Cologne being at the top of that pyramid. I don't know how that's going to be affected, but we know we have this for 1 more year at least. And then if we take a quick look, I'll click the next slide. We've got the Blast, and this is very pixelated. I'm sorry for everybody. This is me upscaling an image. So the groups, this is the first event of the year. It's going to be January 22 to 28. And this is with the 4 new teams. I guess we can talk about the 4 new teams while we have this on screen.
Yeah.
So Gamer Legion, Falcons, Spirit, and Virtus Pro, which had some interesting comments around it, Prof. Like they were like, oh, no Russian teams a year ago, and now there's like 2 Russian teams in there. So
it's the same shit as the thing I said about players. Literally, like people just say stuff, and everyone's like, oh yeah, this is so good, and then it's like it's not, because the Virtus Pro is not a Russian team. They're based in Armenia, and Spirit are not a Russian team. They're based in Belgrade. Like all of this is so much posturing and bullshit around, but whatever, bro. Whatever makes the world go around for another day, and we can all just imagine that none of these things.
Nobody said these things.
No one paid anything to Gambit to get the Cloud9 players. Now, of course, no one paid anything to Virtus Pro for Yakindar. It just like magically happened through love and friendship and fairy tales. So everything is fine, guys. Let's just move on. It's all good. It's all good.
No, I think it's pretty interesting to have Spirit in here, right? If we're just going to talk about the names, I think Spirit's the most, obviously because of the Shiro Donk situation. Like for both of those, that's the more interesting one for me. I'm surprised that Gamer Legion was able to outbid anybody. They must have been using a chunk of their major money, right?
I mean, that you'd have to think so, yeah. Or maybe they're like some of the, I don't know if they got any sort of buyout money, but
for Imma,
I mean, for Imma,
right?
they would have gotten probably a decent chunk. So yeah,
I was looking at their sponsors yesterday. Rebo is like a reciprocal saw company.
What? Okay.
Yeah. I'll link it. You know, like what a drop saw is? Specialized manufacturer of circular saw blades. This is
okay.
I'll link it here. So that's one of their sponsors. And one of them is a gambling website, and the other one is Mind Tank, which I thought was really funny when I was looking this up yesterday. I thought Mind Tank was quite funny. That's like it's, I guess, like supplements,
okay.
like, you know, like G Fuel or something along those lines. Yeah. And I just thought their website was like, I was reading through some of it yesterday. It's crazy. Like the vision behind Mind Tank, the name says it all, is based on the positive characteristics you know from the role of the tank from esports and gaming. The Mind Tank products ensure that you can throw yourself into your challenges and objectives in the best possible way. With specially selected ingredients, Mind Tank helps you bring out your A game in competition. The tank pulls the aggro for you, puts himself between you and the challenging attack so that you can fully concentrate on filling the role and focus to fulfill your mission.
Right. Honestly, sounds like a school project. Honestly,
I couldn't believe it was a real website.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. But I don't. Gamer Legion feels so out of place here. So out of place.
But them and OG, right? They're the bottom of the barrel too.
Yep. I mean,
OG has already been there, so you can't really kick them out, right? But in terms of adding new teams, weird that they get in, and like MOUZ don't get in. I don't know. Monty obviously probably don't have money for anything, but like, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Or what other teams?
There's a few other teams. I mean, that's why I'm surprised Bleed didn't try and bid for a slot, or maybe they did.
I think Bleed, Kassad said something about that. I think he said like that they tried to get in, but it was already filled. But that by that point. Let me see if I can find that exactly. We tried bidding for the Blast spot in 2024, and the response was what we got was that they have a full roster of teams for the upcoming year. I do believe that is the truth. And obviously, like there was announced like a few days later that was indeed the truth. So I guess they just got in too late into the process. But honestly, like if you put them up against Gamer Legion, like can you really make a good argument that Bleed are a better partner for the year? I can't.
Yeah, true.
At least not at the moment. So it's hard to. It's like from that perspective, I don't really care which one would have made it.
Have like a actual team. They didn't have an actual team at the time, right? So.
And even now they have a completely new team. Like it's a massive risk. I said this last time. Like if Bleed was one of those organizations, I would have been pretty disappointed because there's zero history behind them. So you just risk putting a completely non-competitive partner in.
All right. So this year, so we can talk through a lot of this stuff now, right? This is a calendar that I have done up basically of all of the tier 1 events throughout the year. So this doesn't include the RMRs, right? And for those people, I don't know how much people can see on this being shared, but we're technically in the tournament break, which is still right here in gray. So the 8th tomorrow is when some of these open qualifiers are kicking off. And then throughout this period of time, from the 8th up until, I think it's even early March, because of one of the Middle East, there's still closed qualifiers that have been going on across like all of this time, right? And mainly European teams are like for Blast and Katowice, obviously some North American teams, but very, very few. Liquid and Complexity, right? That's it. There's no Furia involved in the Blast groups at all. So, as long as the teams are done with their qualification points up to that. So this is January, everybody. Meant to come back from the tournament break. Now, remember, this is a tournament break, not a player break, right? The players, this is meant to be a period of time where there's no tournaments, and we're going to find tournaments online starting on the 8th. So, Prof, I know you were pretty upset with that today.
Yeah. I mean,
you still upset with it, or it just is what it is?
I mean, also obviously for personal reasons, because of the whole award show, makes it a lot more complicated when you have like open and closed qualifiers happening before that, right? It just packs the season incredibly crazy from the start, right? Doesn't allow people to have any sort of breaks or to plan anything, and it's just frustrating, right? To not have any clarity on some of these things, and it is all comes back to Valve and the major placing. Obviously, it was pretty hard to find a spot for it. I would still prefer it to be just before the break, all of these online qualifiers. Fuck it. I know it's weird to have a break after qualifiers, but at the same time, I think some things need to be upheld regardless of, maybe this is not the best. Like, there should be a time when there is no tournaments. It just makes sense. We should just, it's not, and I'm not saying it needs to be 3, 4, 5 months off of the year as it is in like American sports, right? 2-3 weeks, like every season. I'm not asking for too much. I think it makes sense to be consistent with that.
Okay.
That's
it. Yeah, no, it's fair enough. Yeah. The thing I mentioned earlier is we should be hopefully out of that situation for the next season, but we'll see. Okay, so as we move into February, as we can see, the Blast group is going to end, and then Katowice is going to begin. So that's all going to be back to back. And then once Katowice ends, the RMRs are going to kick off for EU, right? So it's going to be the 2 EU RMRs. So through all the time before this, guys, before February 13th, before all of that is where the open and closed qualifiers for all of these events need to have taken place, right? So we get started straight into the 14th. You're going to have 2 groups, right, for the EU RMRs. And there's a bunch of teams that are already at the RMRs. So there's teams who are already at the closed qualifiers. Those are based off of the rankings, right? The Valve rankings. And if you got invited to those, that list I have here. I can put it in Twitch chat for everybody, and I can quickly read through it. That list is right there. So the teams who we'll only talk about the European teams because I don't think it really matters too much for well, maybe North America as well. So like the notable teams who are already invited to the closed qualifiers: Na'Vi, VP, Cloud9, Big, BetBoom, I guess 3D Max, Saw, 9 Pandas, MOUZ, Spirit, Eternal Fire, Astralis, Aurora, Fours, Preci, and Amcal, which is Nickelback, Crowd, Forrester, Travis, and Icy. North America has Complexity, M80, Nouns, Wildcard, Badass, Boss, Party Astronauts, and Carpe Diem. So that means teams like NRG, Liquid need to come through the open qualifier to get to the closed. South America has MIBR, 9Z, Pain, Red Canids, Imperial, Bestita, how do I say that? Bestia, Fluxo, and Sharks. And I guess we'll leave it about... Actually, just on a note, I think the Asian RMR is going to be really quite hard. Like, there's only one spot, as we know, for Oceania, which has had a little bit of noise made about it, but there's a reason for that. That's going to be Greyhound with Dexter in the roster now. But you've got Lin Vision, who have shown promise in recent time. You've got Tai Lu, who have 6 players on their roster now, right? And then you have the Mongols. So I don't think it's going to be mega easy for Greyhound just to snag a spot. I think it's going to be actually fucking difficult for them, even with the addition of Dex to that team. So I'm interested to see how that goes. So yeah, that's for the closed. The teams who are already in the RMRs for EU. So the way that worked was if you were in the top 16 of the last major and you've retained a core 3, we were still on with the core rule, then you get an invite to the RMRs, right? So that would be Vitality, which kept the core of Zywoo, Apex, and Spinks. Gamer Legion, who kept the core of Isaac, Keels, and A-Core. Apex, who kept, well, they didn't keep the core. They brought Stiko back. This is probably a reason why they brought Stiko back. Yeah. Jacob, Nork, and Stiko. NIP have Rez, Hedrick, and Config. G2 have 4 players, Bad News Eagles, and they're now known as Guild. That's the same team. Into the Breach brought Thomas back, which put them in contention again, right? So Thomas, Crucial, and Rallin. FaZe had 4. 9, aka Ents, have Goofy, Kyler, and Hades. So, right, they've get themselves a spot in the RMR. Monty still had 4. And Falcons, Snappy, Madden, and Sampaias.
So Ents.
Yeah.
So 4 months, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then obviously for the Americas, Furia with Yuri, Art, and Quesarado. So those are the teams that I've just listed there who are already in the RMR. So if you don't see them in the open qualifiers or the closed qualifiers, that's why. Yeah, okay. So we're banging on this calendar. Where the fuck was I? Okay, yeah. So look, we're in February. We're in the RMRs. They all end up on the 4th, right? The North American side.
You're missing March 2nd.
What's March 2nd?
That's my birthday.
Oh, I'll add that one. Sorry, this is a business. I think on Prof, this isn't the personal one. So sorry,
okay.
mate. Yeah,
Okay.
And then the Blast Showdown, which will be online. So we got that one here. They'll be online, and then we go straight into the major, right? So at this point, we're up to the fucking. We're already kicking things off on the 17th of March. Bang, straight into the major this early in the year.
This is like the
31st.
first Blast Showdown because no one wants to play this before the major. And if you remember back, like when Vitality played it before the. What major was that? The Copenhagen major? Oh no, the Rio major, right? They were playing it, and they kind of crashed out of both. Didn't really do much, and I know they're kind of pissed that they had to play it in the first place, but they had to because they're partners. I think that's a thing everyone wants to avoid as much as possible. It's the worst timing to have a tournament in your preparation for the major.
Yeah, right. Like I think something that might incentivize these teams as well a little bit more during the initial group stage, right? Because that's sometimes a problem. This is the thing as well, guys. I can scroll through this. If you're looking at this as a tier 1 team, right? If I was going to put myself in a position of Vitality, I would want to warm back into the year with spring groups. That would be an event for me that I would want to be, okay, yeah, that's, we're going to practice. We want to win. We want to beat the other teams, of course, but we don't need to go pedal to the metal. We just need to come in here and warm up for Katowice, right? Because Katowice is a big event. It's a prestigious event. This is just a group stage. And if you don't get through here, which you definitely want to, you have another chance. So they know it's not the end of the world. So you warm up here. If I'm a Vitality, if I'm a FaZe, I go into Katowice and I give that all, because that is now priming to see where we're at as a team for the major that's just around the corner, right? You want to try and win an event like Katowice. Okay, Katowice goes however Katowice goes. Then you go into your RMRs, which is equally as important, if not more important, when you consider sticker money. So actually more important. It's more important right here because you can guarantee yourself hundreds of thousands of dollars, or actually I take that back. You can't guarantee yourself, but if history is anything to go off, more likely you can get yourself $100,000 worth of sticker money. So you have an event that's a group stage that you're not going to go nuts on. You have Katowice, an event that is highly prestigious that you want to win, and then you have something that guarantees you major attendance and sticker money. So this is 2 back-to-back heavy-hitting events. And I guess fortunately, if you're in form in Katowice, I'd assume you're going to be in form for the RMRs. You'd hope. You hope you don't. Yeah.
And then there is quite a few spots for you this time around, more than before, right? It's 18 this time, so the last chance qualifier should have. Is it or is it
17?
Not? It's because Liquid went back. It was supposed to be 18, right?
I think it's 17. It's
European
17.
Liquid. Yeah. So kind of the same. Still quite a few spots. So like the good teams. And it's like Swiss, so there's few reasons to not go through. But as we saw before, upsets happen. Virtus Pro, Cloud9, FaZe almost last time around didn't make it through the RMR. So you have to be on at least like 70-80% of your game at the RMR, right?
Yeah. Okay, so then the RMRs conclude, then we have the show, and then we have the major. Then the major ends, and then this is where I assume, what do you guys think? Striker, you reckon we're going to have another roster mania at this point? We're going to have teams who are
After
then
the
just
major,
like,
yeah, I think so. I think that makes perfect sense just because a lot of people, even now, like, didn't want to move just because of the major and stuff like that. And so, like, I think that's going to be the next the next step. And like a lot of teams also didn't make changes because they wanted to retain the core for the RMR. So
yes,
same shit, you know, like a lot of teams will look at changes after that because they already were thinking just they couldn't because it's a big risk, you know, to start everything from the open.
So this is where these next slew of events become a bit more watered down, because if you assume a lot of teams are going to make roster changes at this point, or are going to be looking to make roster changes going into the next break, or at least starting to have those conversations, this is where we find ourselves potentially in the same type of period as we just did, like the last couple of months, right?
Yeah.
So then you finish
3 months, 3 months of weird rosters.
Of fuckery, I think is the official terminology, Prof. So we come out of this, and then teams who are already committed to IEM Chengdu, right, to go to China, they're already fucking committed. They have to go. That's where they have to go. That's in. They have to go. They don't have a choice. So then after that, you've got yourself ESL Pro League. So you go to do China, you come back, you have a week off, you go straight into Pro League, which is only 3 weeks per season this time around. So it's still a lengthy period of time, and there's a lot of teams there. And this is where, again, before we were talking about this from a position of a vitality. So you come out of it. Let's say you're a vitality. You didn't go deep in the major. Maybe you're a little bit sad. Maybe you're like, well, maybe you're not too happy. Maybe you're a little bit, right? You these events might not mean a lot to you. Or if you won the major and you want to come and you want to double down and win a couple of other big events, or maybe you won Katowice and you're on the way to the Intel Grand Slam, or you come into Pro League and you're like a Space Soldiers, right? Eternal Fire, not a Space Soldiers. This is like your fucking, as Tommy would say, your Super Bowl. So then these events are all going to mean different things at different points in the year for all these different teams. We have Pro League finish, 2 weeks off, into Dallas. Dallas happens, and then we've got the Blast Spring Finals in London. That's it. And now we're into the break. See how quick, guys, we're already 6 months through the year.
It goes pretty fast.
Is that not crazy?
It's pretty crazy.
It's fucking insane.
Just do, for the next half of the year, it's more or less the same, no? But the big difference is the major is at the end, and we don't really know when the RMRs and anything is, so we can't really make too much out of it, I feel like, right?
Well, I've penciled stuff in. I don't know how official it is, but I penciled things in. Like I like, so we can go through this. So if everyone's interested, June 3rd is when I'm going to fly back to Australia, just so everyone, if you're interested. Okay, so then you've got the tournament break. The tournament break.
So not working Blast?
No, they don't need any casters. They don't ask me to cast.
Breaking news.
Oh yeah. No, the thing is, actually, you know what? I did want to put like a tweet out to start this year saying if people wanted to use me as an analyst or as like even an interviewer at some smaller events, if people are looking for someone to go talk to players, I would gladly do that. I'm looking to work more this year. I want to get back on the grind. I want to be back out there doing more stuff.
We posted, like when we posted the report about Valve targeting the Shanghai Major, this is like half a year ago at this point. At the time, we had the info that the RMR qualifiers or RMRs were planned for October 26th to November 13th. So let's say a little bit over 2 weeks, ending a little bit over 2 weeks before the major itself.
Okay, I don't want to. Fuck it, I can jump forward. So this is what I had penciled in when I had it. I guess
it was similar, right? Yeah. So same exact information.
That was just info. Penciled in. I don't know. Like I just tried to fill out a calendar to make the year work, but this is how I see it coming out of the player break. So I don't know exactly. This isn't going to be called G8 this time, right? It's going to be called something
the World
different.
Cup, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be the first event out of the break, and then Blast 4 groups. I think some of these dates I have here would be travel dates. I don't think it starts according to Blast dates till the 26th. So something like here. So I'm guessing with the Saudi event, it'll be here. Then the Blast 4 groups. Then again, we start the year pretty early after the soft group, straight into a big boy event, straight into Cologne, and then out of Cologne into the fall showdown. So on the fall down, then into Pro League, right? And then straight into another 3 weeks of competition, then into the Blast 4 finals. Is it in Copenhagen again?
Yeah, they did announce it.
Yeah, but it's
a different arena,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Then in Copenhagen again, and then we've got IM Fall, right? We got IM Fall. I don't know where that one's going to be just yet. And then the Perfect World RMRs, as we were just discussing, and then the Blast World Finals, which I assume they have a deal with Abu Dhabi, don't they?
I think I heard it was either ending last year or ending this year. I don't remember now. I guess one of those.
So maybe not Abu Dhabi, but it's going to be somewhere.
Is it so much earlier this year?
It has to be, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it is. It was announced, no? Like all this was announced.
I think this was on the graphic I had it before. Yeah, this is when they've slated it for.
Yeah, World Final November 13th to 17th.
Yeah. So I guess these are these days
there
I have
will
here.
be travel days plus media day. Yeah, of course.
And then finally the major, which will end on the 15th, which is just before the player break, is going to kick off again December 16th. So that's
I'm excited about that. I'm curious about how that's going to go, man. Like from major straight to the break, like just immediate come down.
Yeah, right. And that's it. And then that'll be it. Like, and teams and players can go on vacation and do roster changes while they're on vacation. It's going to be fucking amazing.
That's going to be that's the rough part about it. Maybe that's just going to cause the changes to bleed over into the first few events of the year. Problem is like we'll see how the next year looks.
Isn't it better that way?
Yeah,
we want it to ramp up.
I agree with that. It's better than to have all the dead rosters at the end of a season. Like it's better to have them at the beginning of the season rather than the end of it. So I agree with that.
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
So that was,
and then you travel directly from China to Australia.
I guess, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It's close. It's just around the corner. Well,
yeah, just like 8-hour flight or something, but less than 24. So that's pretty nice.
On the same time zone at least, right? But that's so crazy that we can just flick through what is going to be another year of Counter-Strike just like that. And then, as highlighted at the very beginning of that slide, or slides, is the fact that going into the next year is where it's going to be open slather again. And like I've heard that some other tournament organizer is going to come in and run a bunch of events in that year. So, and this is the thing, it is going to be war. I think this is one of the things that I think that players and orgs, like team orgs, need to wrap their head around this. And I said this back before everything went online in the pandy. It's all going to be about choice. It has to be about choice. You have to pick and choose your events. You cannot sign your team up to everything. You will run these kids into the ground, and it's just stupid decision-making. You won't be able to play everything. You're going to have to make some hard decisions, and you're going to have to plan. You have to say, we'll do this one, but we'll skip this one, and we'll focus, and we'll try and win this one, and then we'll have this much time until the major. And you're going to have to plan like that because there's going to be too many events. There's going to be too much shit going on. You're not just going to be able to play everything. And I think that's good. I don't want to see the same teams playing every fucking weekend in another grand final. I don't want to see that. I want to see, some of the best teams playing, and then some of the next weekend, some of the other best teams that we missed playing. And then once we do get to like a Cologne, a Katowice, or a major, like a heavy hitting big event, then we do get to see everybody come together and battle and duke it out. That's what I want to see. That's the way I'd want to do it. I don't want to see the same teams every fucking week. That's just we don't want that. We don't need that. We don't need that in our life. Okay. Well, I don't know where we're at. Let me see where we're at. Do you want to do these predictions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, cool. Did you fill yours out, Striker?
I did not. No, I didn't look at it.
That's all right. We can start with Profs. Profs is first. Yeah, we can start with this. All right, I'm going to present another slide for everybody playing at home.
Here we go.
Look at me just doing all these fucking presentations. I feel like we're at school. Okay, so here we go. This one here, we've gone with... it's loading. This is another lovely template that I've snatched off the interwebs. Prediction, Season 1 time capsule, HLTV confirmed. So right here, we've got 5 different categories. Where in these we're going to make some predictions. And Prof, he's made his. Striker and I will make ours soon. Now, Prof, here you go. Would you like to present this to the class?
Hello everyone. I'm Prof. I made this slide. Hope you enjoy it. I was pretty I don't want to say uninspired, but I didn't really do anything crazy. I just wanted to be correct this time around.
Okay.
Just like I was last time around. Actually, I picked Vitality and ZywOo to win the major. Even for no reason, aside from vibes. But vibes are pretty good. So what I picked here, you made the categories. I just filled it in, right? So don't make the major. I picked Gamer Legion. My reason is because I don't think they made any like positive changes essentially, and the end of the season looked pretty shit for them. Obviously, they also played with stand-in, blah blah. But I'm just not inspired by the lineup they have right now. Yeah, that's it. It just feels not like the greatest team out there. It's not like they're not the top 5 team, but they're in the top 15 or whatever, and they have been around there the whole last year. So that's it. Okay. Next one, PGL Copenhagen Major, MVP, and the winner, Vitality and ZywOo. Why?
Okay, it's a winning recipe.
Why? Because it proved to be winning from last year, but also I think you can only pick two teams objectively, kind of based on what we've seen so far, and that's Vitality and FaZe. And I have no reason to go against Vitality. So far in CS2, they have been the best. So they have the best player right now. So there's no reason to go for anyone else. It just makes the most sense. Same with the team of the season. I don't, and this is the reason also why I'm banking on them, is because I don't think the other teams below, aside from them, like Vitality and FaZe, have made any super rosters, and I don't think there's going to be a reason for them to drop off except them dropping off, individually. I don't think there's anyone that's looking super crazy, Na'Vi with no simple and all of these things. There's no real challenger on the table. So team of the season is Vitality, and team to make roster change, there's going to be a lot, but Cloud9 for sure, because this Opless thing is, no comment, no further comment needed.
All right. You've gone very vanilla. This could easily be mistaken as a striker. Yeah, exactly.
I would have done something like this. Yeah.
All right. Well, striker, do you know what you want to do?
I mean, I'm kind of like starting from the stuff that is the easiest, which was really like team to make a roster change. I mean, Cloud9 is very, very mega obvious one. Like, surely they have to. I'm just trying to think about like another one that might do. And I mean, I would imagine it's going to be G2.
Okay.
I don't think that this lineup will survive through 2024.
All right. Do you want me to fill this out for you? I can fill it out.
You can fill it out.
Yeah. Okay. G2.
I don't know. I'm not sold on this being the lineup. Maybe they will not do it just because they'll be
G2 in chat.
Okay. Yeah. No. All right.
I'm not sold on this being like a lineup that will contend for keep contending for titles, especially not like the big ones. I imagine they'll still be like, I mean, they still have niko, they still have MOUZ, they still have really strong. What?
Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Did you see that?
You really
did you see that Carlos apparently still owns like 30% of G2 or something?
Does he really?
I didn't see that.
There's the interview. I posted it in Discord. What? Jesus Christ.
I've been moving.
Wait, you put it in Discord
for 3 days.
I put it in Discord, but not in the news chat. So there's the interview with Shok, the Russian YouTuber, and blah blah, like Cyber Shok, the team as well. Like, and apparently something came from it. I didn't watch the whole thing, so that's why I put it in the chat for our news writers to do something about it, maybe. But apparently no one cares about what I'm saying. No one listening. Always the same.
Oh dear. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to throw it off, Striker.
I did miss that. No, I mean, I'll go with, I think Cloud9 is the obvious one, but I also think that G2 will not survive through the season. Not the season, but at least through the year.
Yeah.
With this roster. Team of the season, I mean, Vitality would be very obvious again. I think I don't actually, like, I was contemplating between them and FaZe, just because I do think that FaZe potentially even improved the roster with Frozen. That is a very realistic possibility. But then again, like, do I see him as like a massive improvement on Twists, considering all the like role changes and stuff like that? Maybe not. And they've already been kind of like, they're already slowed down from that like that massive high, and people are only going to start catching up. So I'm not sure if I would put FaZe there, but I do think that Vitality will keep going.
You want Vitality?
I think Vitality is a good one.
Okay, all right.
I'll go on with major MVP. I will go 100% left field, even though a lot of people will probably say this. I will say donk.
Hey!
But I don't think that Spirit will win the major, and I think it will be Vitality.
Okay.
No, Vitality are winning the major, and Zai was not MVP.
Exactly. This is my left field. This is like the one that I will pick. This is like your type of prediction.
Dude's on drugs. Okay. Dude found some drugs while moving and consumed them all, right? Like, what is this?
Look, fuck it.
Why not?
I'm just working off. Don't make the major. Just give me a sec. I didn't actually look through that.
I mean, there's a lot of contenders in like the mid.
There's a lot of them, yeah, for sure. Like, there could be like, the problem is like a lot of these you don't even see in the top 30. Where like I'm looking through the top 30 rankings.
I mean, Heroic,
there's
for
like
example, is not there. Like, they need to qualify, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like,
Fnatic,
some of these teams, man,
it's not easy.
It's not easy. Like, kind of like half joke answer would be Astralis, just because it's like it would be so crazy if they didn't after all this. But I actually do think that they will. I don't think like they've definitely crumbled on.
What about someone
before.
like Preezy? Do you think Preezy's gonna make the major?
Bro, but like that's not like, is that a prediction? Like, is that a prediction you want to make? You know, that's the point. Like, I don't think they will make it. You're right. I don't think they will make it to the major. But at the same time, like, who expects them to like 100% make it? Like, this is 100% lineup that will make it. You know, so I'm just like thinking about the teams that like people probably have there. Man, Heroic is an interesting one, to be honest, for that. Because it's like it's not like it's a bad lineup, and we were talking about this last time. Like, every piece is good, but maybe like all of them combined together, you're not like 100% excited about them. So I'm like kind of like on the fence about like whether they will make it. Like, maybe it could be one of those situations where they're just like, it's too early for them to make it, you know. And they do have to go through the whole thing, right?
Is this Heroic?
Yeah, they need to start with open quals. Yeah.
So let's go with Heroic. I'm not sure if I'm like on the fence about it, just because it's a new team, new core. They should make it realistically, but there's a good chance that they don't.
All right, so you've gone with Heroic don't make the major. Donk MVP of the major, but doesn't win it. Vitality win the major. Vitality team of the season.
Imagine if I'm right that Vitality win the major, but Donk is the MVP.
That would be insane.
What if? No, never mind.
It would be insane. And then team to make roster change, that's G2 Esports. Okay. All right. So mine, here we go. I'm going to put not to make the major, NRG plus Greyhound. That's not because I dislike Greyhound. That's just because I think that it's going to be hot water, man. It's going to be fucking hot water in that RMR. So I'm going for something a little bit more bold and interesting there.
Is this you trying to like light a fire under them? Be like,
not really. I like them.
Be like, oh, well, look at this SPUNJ motherfucker.
Can you go to the next? Can you?
We're gonna prove him wrong.
Wait, we're on the next slide, aren't we?
No. Yeah. It wasn't updated before.
I'm not trying to do that at all, Prof, at all. I just think it's going to be really difficult. And if we're here making some like more, I don't want to say outlandish predictions, but I don't want to just be vanilla. I want to have a little bit of spice. So NRG and Greyhound.
A chocolate chip and like a stracciatella.
Yeah. I'm going to put Na'Vi to make a roster change.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a solid one as well.
Okay.
And I'm going to center that because it was annoying me.
I feel like all three we'll if we're not all three right, I'm going to be shocked, honestly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like about G2, Cloud9, and Na'Vi.
Na'Vi, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and because this is the thing, we're going to check back at this as we go into the next tournament break. Right?
I should have really put more effort into this.
No, it's all right. We're going to see how it all unfolds. Now, this is where, I don't know, I don't want to go vanilla like you guys did, whereas I think, for me, I've said this on a multitude of different times, multiple different times. I've said it numerous times, ad nauseum at this point, that going into the year, Vitality is number 1 and FaZe is number 2. And I don't want to just predict that way because, you know, I'm going to do a whole bunch of different predictions this year on different things, and I'm sure a bunch of them are going to be different. But this is just fun at the start of the year, trying to come up with something that could be a little bit different. I think the team of the season, right, is going to be based on consistency. Because let's say, I guess if you win the major and you win Katowice, then you've won the 2 biggest events of the season. So, but if you place highly in a lot of events, and if you attend a lot of events and you're in stage matches, then that could bring us into the conversation as well. So I think that FaZe should be in that conversation.
Okay.
And right now, I think that Vitality still have quite the lead on them as a roster. I would like to be able to, you know, go, oh, I think that these guys are gonna like actually, you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna change it. Let's go with this. I'm gonna go with Spirit, right? Just because let's get on the stupid hype train. Let's do it. Let's get on the ridiculous hype train. Let's get on the because you've gone with Donk, but I'm gonna go with major MVP Rops and major winner FaZe. Right, which is still pretty vanilla, right? But it's not a Vitality answer. It's given something a little bit different here. So that's what I've gone with. NRG and Greyhound not to make the major, Rops to be the MVP, FaZe to winner, a team of the season Spirit, and that will be in my heart. And team to make roster change Na'Vi. All right, now we can bury this time capsule and dig it back up in 6 months' time.
I'm excited about that.
All right. Well, this is the title graphic, and now I can click stop sharing. And that was that. And okay, there it is. We've had a conversation. We spoke about some stuff. It's something that I did want to bring people's attention to. If people want to spend the time or have any questions, I would strongly recommend just going and reading. I'm going to put the link in chat, which is the rulebook that Valve put out. It's It's on GitHub. You can go and you can read through most of that, and it tells you so much information. So much information where you might have questions about how the major works, or how teams qualify, or what is considered a core. There's some interesting stuff in here. Like, for example, we were talking about this before we went live, Striker. One of the things in the forward here is this document does not contain all of the rules of the tournament, only the ones we require to be uniform across all major events. For the complete body of tournament rules for your event, contact the tournament organizer. Right? So I'm curious as to what that is in difference of rules. But if you read through this document that I've linked and you see things, you're like, well, there's nothing in here about this. Then does that mean that the tier, like, for example, the comment that I made to you, Striker, was it best of 3 or best of 1s, right? In terms of the Swiss system. Where does it say in this rule set? Because maybe someone can find it who's a bit smarter than I in chat. Where it says it has to be best of 3 or best of 1. It says all major and RMR events are to use the following map pick ban process for determining which maps of best of 1 or best of 3 are played. But it doesn't say like if the opening round needs to be best of 1 or if it can be best of 3. Like it doesn't say that anywhere, right?
It would be weird if that was up to the TO in my eyes, but I'm not sure.
But we had Star Ladder who did with the Swiss did best of 3 the whole way through.
Yeah, that's true.
But we've had everybody else do best of 1 and best of 3. So best of 1 is like, I don't want to call them seeding matches. I usually call them establishing matches, and then I would call the elimination or progression matches. That's how I would kind of frame them. They would be the best of 3. So it doesn't say anywhere. So if that's like up to the TO to decide, what else is up to the TO to decide? This is the thing. If people want to go through this with a fine tooth comb and have a little bit of a look and see what they see or see what they don't see, could be some interesting little points to be made here, and to verify with PGL, who will be running the next major. So yeah, I'd recommend if people are interested and they want to have a bit of a read through, that would be a very good place to start. It's a good skeleton, because for many years, like one TO would run a major and then they get all this information from Valve about what needed to be done, and then the next TO would run it, but these TOs aren't friends. They don't share the information. So that also is mentioned in the start of this year. It also even mentions what the goal of the major is, right? People are, well, what is this? Well, this is from Valve. The goal of the major is to bring together the best Counter-Strike players in the world to a LAN setting, provide them an opportunity to claim their title, and to demonstrate to millions of CS players around the world just how high the Counter-Strike ceiling is. The major represents the pinnacle of Counter-Strike skill and provides an open invitation for the best in the world to participate regardless of their means or access, which is obviously something we know that Valve wants to keep, right? They want to keep things open circuit as how things are going to be in 2025. So yeah, I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention. We got any other business we want to get through this evening, gentlemen?
Not really. I didn't find any questions, if I'm completely honest. So maybe if there's something in chat, but other than that, I think we're pretty good.
All right. Well, if anybody has any reasonable questions in chat that they'd like to ask right now, and it's not just berating Striker about the top 20, then that would be good. If you don't, that's all good as well. And we could shut this one down. We're going for about 2 hours. This is the first show back in 2024. We'll probably do one after the award show next week. So maybe Monday next. Well, not next week, but the week after the award show.
Something like that.
The day, 2 days after the award show, or?
Well, the award show's on the Saturday, right? So
yeah. Travel back on Sunday and never talk to anyone for a week.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see for me for that Monday, because whatever. But okay. Maybe.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can have a little bit of a gander at that. What else we got? Any questions coming in through here? Any available?
Who's your favorite Dragon Ball Z character at SPUNJ?
I always thought Vegeta was pretty badass. He's like a bad guy turned good, but he's still got an attitude about him. And that's about it. Vegeta.
MOUZ, fifth speculation.
Pretty sure it's Brolin.
Brolin, I
standing
guess.
in for them. Yeah. I don't know how long that's going to be the case, but I'm pretty sure it's Brolin. SPUNJ, all elimination advanced matches are best of 3. All matches. Yeah, but where does it say that? Where does it say it? Where does it say it?
Who said that?
Yonez J0HN3S_. I'm just trying to find where it says it. Are you going to stream the open qualifiers? Yeah, I'll stream some of the games tomorrow when they're going. Our 2 EPO groups just going to be on the B stream. I don't know what's going to happen with the EPO groups. White Howdy, I'll be honest. I have no information at all.
Random dude asks why nobody wants dupreeh. Well, he joined dupreeh. So that's the team for the major, at least. I don't know how long term he signed, but that's the short term.
Do we know if the major grand finals are to be held best of 3, best of 5? I would say 99% best of 3. I would say there's probably no way it will be best of 5. That would be such a gargantuan change for a major.
It's one
to
of
go
the
best
things
of 5.
that's like when people ask this question, it's like, why would it be best of 5?
I think that's because of the
consider?
MR12.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to see the open qualifier bracket. Well, tomorrow on HLTV, you'll have a live post. So, okay.
Why is JK's back in Europe? To play Face It with me. That's why. He came back just to play Face It with me. Will you change the Face It trophies from Pro's profile? I don't know. Talk about that. Sponge blinked twice if IEM Sydney is IEM4. I don't think... no, it's not. IEM Sydney is not IEM4. I can tell you that. That's the truth. All right. Cool. I think we're done.
Yeah.
Everyone happy?
Yeah. Everyone happy.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. Lucas?
That's it.
You want to say anything to the people at home?
Nope. I hope you guys have a good trip to Serbia.
Yeah.
That's right. You're not coming.
Sadly.
Well, you'll be there in spirit, Lucas.
Enjoy
you'll be there in
Copenhagen with your best friends from Australis.
Oh, shit. Nothing to say about that one. All right.
Shut you up really hard there. Yeah. But yeah, see you guys in a couple of days.
Yep. Award show. Everybody tune in next Saturday. All the actions have been going down. We'll be traveling in on the Thursday. All the action. There's a whole bunch of people who are going to be there. So tune in. Keep reading the articles of the top 20. Keep having your opinions and keep knowing that difference in opinions is a good thing. It makes the world go round. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to HLTV Confirmed. And we're going. Peace. Bye.
Best esports odds, VIP program and a variety of bonuses, fast and easy withdrawals, bet on every possible CSGO matching tournament, as well as any other esports game. Only on 22Bet.
Are you tired of your boring old skins and looking for beautiful new ones? Tradeit.gg is your place to go for easy and secure trades within seconds. Simply pick and choose whatever item you want to trade from Tradeit's huge inventory. Verify the trade on Steam and you're ready. With the lowest fees in the market and a beautiful, easy-to-use UI, Tradeit also offers you the option to instantly sell your items for cash. We accept a wide variety of payment methods. Tradeit.gg is the go-to place whenever you want to try out fancy new skins. Start trading today at Tradeit.gg.